Hello and welcome into the Rounding Third Baseball Podcast. I'm Harrison and I'm all by myself tonight because Nick is getting a well-deserved night off. So glad to have you here, hanging along with me while I fly solo. Let's kick it off with you know where to find us: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Rumble, Twitch, TikTok. You can find us everywhere you can find podcasts. We appreciate the support on all platforms. You've got all of our affiliate programs: Logitech, MLB Shop, Lids. If you're going to buy anything from these places, please use the links on our page. It's a great way to support the podcast. No additional cost to you, but a great little way to give us some support. So we appreciate all the support we've gotten from people and hopefully all the support we'll get here in the future. And don't forget the merch store, Rounding Third merch. You know you want a t-shirt, you know you want a phone case, you know you want a tumbler, all sorts of great stuff. Rounding 3RD Baseball on Etsy. And you know where to find it. Do the thing. You know you want the stuff. And lastly, Patreon. So I am streaming live over here on Patreon tonight. Would love to see more folks over there, but Patreon's a great platform for helping creators like us and everybody else in this time of weirdness with all these different platforms. We appreciate all the support we get over on Patreon. So let's start it off. I love the chat's already active tonight. Let's start it off. First of all, if you didn't know, we hit 40,000 followers on the Facebook page. So first of all, thank you to everybody who follows the page, everybody who interacts with the trivia, everybody who is here with the show. We appreciate all that support. 40K is wild. We tell the story all the time. You know, we did this for the first 6 months. It was just me, Nick, and Sean talking to pretty much nobody. We had a blast doing it. We were having a lot of fun. And then as the audience grew, it just became wild that we were getting all this interaction. And then our page really blew up a couple years ago. And here we are, 40,000 followers. Never thought we'd make it. Always hoped we would. We're never sure we'd actually make it. So we appreciate all the support we get. 40K is such a huge accomplishment. Can't wait to continue growing, but really appreciate all the support we get from all you guys in chat, all you guys on the page. Pretty incredible. And I thought it was pretty cool. This is a picture of Globe Life Field in the background of this image. Globe Life holds about 40,300 people. So our followers on Facebook would almost fill up Globe Life Field, which is kind of wild to think about, that we could sell at a ballpark with our Facebook following. So great stuff. Thank you so much. Let's get into the show. So I need you guys in chat. You got to be active tonight. Otherwise, it's going to be me talking to myself a lot. So let's get it. So the Mets, if you didn't know, the Mets are having a really tough season. They are, as chat would usually say, they are metting in the biggest way. So Carlos Mendoza fired, relieved of duties, fired, whatever term you want to use, depending on what media outlet you picked up. Mendoza fired. Not a surprise. I don't think anybody here is surprised at all that we had Mendoza fired. However, it begs the question, is Stearns next? So if you're going to fire the guy that couldn't win with the team, are you going to fire the guy that continues to build the rosters? And I don't know what the Mets really plan on doing here. I don't know who they think they're going to get to take this job. I did see that Albert Pujols already mentioned he has interest in this job. Please, for the love of God, don't let Albert Pujols take this job. I would hate to see Pujols go to this dumpster fire and start it this way. I'd be absolutely horrified to see Albert Pujols start his managerial career here. If you're going to fire the manager and blame him for things, you've got to look to the front office and say, well, you can't expect the guy to cook a gourmet meal when you're buying him dog food. And at some point, you have to have the front office take the rap. And Stearns did. To his credit, he said, I own the roster construction piece of this, but 3 years, it's been a mess. I don't know, it's tough. Mike Reed, I'm with you. I don't know how Stearns keeps his job unless Cohen agreed to the moves he did. Now, that's a fair point, because this is year 3, I believe, for Stearns. He came over from the Brewers, had great success with the Brewers, came over here. First year was good. And then the Soto thing happened. Soto came in last year. Things got wobbly. Some interesting moves. This year, if Cohen agreed with all the moves he made, I would be shocked. If Cohen agreed that Alonso can go and Nimmo can go, And maybe he did agree, maybe he didn't love the moves, maybe he kind of said fine. But I think year 3, this is the first year you can really say, like, Stearns, you had your fingerprint all over this, and this roster is the worst we've ever had. You have to own some of that. And flat cheese, there are people that are convinced that Cohen is the GM. That he's basically just like building this roster and Stearns is a yes man doing as he pleases. I don't think that's the case. I think Cohen keeps some level of distance, but I wouldn't be shocked to find out that, like, Soto in particular, Cohen jumped in the middle of that and wanted to be involved. Because again, Cohen's a fan. And when you've got a owner who's a fan, I don't know. I feel like there's more to this story than that. But I do question whether or not we see something with Stearns, or if Cohen gives him the, hey, it's only the 3rd year, but, like, don't do it again. This is the warning shot. I don't know how this plays out, but I have a tough time believing that Stearns is his seat is not at least warm. Aaron, great point. Manager is usually the fall guy in these situations. Yes, they are. We saw it in Boston. Alex Cora got the heave ho early. Granted, I think Cora's done a very good job, but they're always the first guy out because the GM. It's easy for the GM to go in and fire the manager. It's not easy for the owner to fire the GM without a much bigger plan in place. Flat cheese couldn't be worse than Stearns. I mean, not going to argue with that. Scott, hire Clint Hurdle. After just talking to Clint and seeing how cool a guy he is, I wouldn't want this for Clint. And I think Michael backs me up that Clint wouldn't want this. That just seems like such a losing situation. Flat cheese, I totally agree. I think Cohen pushed hard for Soto. I think that was definitely a big thing for him was the shiny splashy signing. And Ryan, I made this comment almost word for word to somebody the other day. The Mets feel like a poorly ran fantasy team, only checked in on once a month or so. Now, I'm guilty of being a poor general manager of a fantasy team, so I feel that one on a personal level. But it does feel like they're building a fantasy team rather than a baseball team. It just can't get around it. Mets are vying for the Padres dumpster fire spot. I mean, I don't know if they're vying for it. I think they own it now. I think the Mets moved in. Let's see. Well, I don't think the Mets are a great team. It is tough to blame anyone. Lindor, Robert, and yeah. I mean, you're right. Highlights, like, they have had the injury bug in the worst way. I think you have to give Mendoza a little bit of a reprieve for that. But I will say, like, the 6 errors in a game the other day, that was rough. The fact they continue to not hit with runners in scoring position, he makes really weird bullpen decisions. When he was asked about kind of the feeling for the team, he didn't know. Like, I feel like there were signs that it wasn't working, but you can't blame it all on Mendoza. That's for sure. There's definitely something going on there in general. Yeah. Oh, look, Nick, you're taking the night off. Go take the night off. Yeah, but you're not paid to run your fantasy team. That is fair. I'm not paid to run my fantasy team, but I probably should pay more attention to it just out of principle. Ryan, fair point. Echoing what Nick just said. Don't get paid millions in your office league. So I guess chat. Just give me a quick yes or no in the chat. Is Stearns safe? Yes. Or does he get fired? No. What do you think? Is Stearns safe? Yes or no? I'd be curious what you guys think. And yeah, Mike, we said this in the offseason. Mendoza should have been gone at the end of last year. Like, there's no reason for him to have started the year there. Like, it felt like that it had run its course. Same thing in Philadelphia. It seemed like Thompson was, really probably should have gone last year too. Like, it wasn't working. Move on. Silix, yeah, they never fixed their pitching. I agree. I will say they made the Peralta trade, which was like, man, maybe they're making it, but Peralta's been terrible. I mean, he's just not been good. I don't get it. I don't get it. I thought that was going to be a big move for them, and it's been a disaster. I mean, then Cody Senga, who's 0-7, moved to the bullpen and then blew it today. You can't pitch that guy anywhere. Let's see. John Temple fired at the end of the year. Carl says no, he's not safe. Highlights thinks he's safe. Joseph says he's got 2 more seasons, which is, I mean, in fairness, he signed a 5-year deal. It takes a good 3 seasons for these guys to really get stuff in place. Probably fair. Nick, yes, it's the Mets, and I'm out. Yes, he's safe. Michael thinks he's safe. Chad thinks if he goes, it'll be during the off season. That's fair. Cohen may let him play out the string. Also, maybe let him try to redeem himself with the All Star at the trade deadline. Who knows? But I think the Mets are a general dumpster fire right now. Mendoza was definitely part of the problem. He wasn't the whole problem, and but he's definitely the fall guy for it. Oh, all right. Before we move on, this is a good question. So Aaron asks, this begs the age old question: just how much of a difference does an MLB manager make? What's their war, so to speak? I like that. I like using war for a manager. Um, so I'll give you my opinion while chat weighs in. I think a good manager, um, I think the measure of a good manager is how you do in one run games. Because a lot of times how you perform in one run games comes down to, did you use the right pinch hitter? Did you go to the bullpen at the right time? Did you bring in the right guy? Did you have the right matchup? Now, at the end of the day, the players still have to play. They still have to perform. But I do think one run games are the barometer for how good a manager is. Can he get you through a close game? So to me, that's always how I viewed it. If you're good in one run games, you probably have a good manager. Um, John, I'm not sure the Mets don't lose on an off day. You're not wrong. They find all different ways to lose these days. Painful ones, very painful ones, errors, bullpen performances, or just outright blown out. Curtis thinks he's not safe. Only a handful of managers in today's game that really impact games. I think you're probably right, Mike Reed. I think the kind of the good managers are harder to find. I think you've got a lot of guys that are good. They're adequate. The great manager, we should say great manager, not good manager. The great managers are hard to find. There's just only so many of them. Let's see. Silix, very good managers make a difference and very bad managers do as well, but middle of the road managers make no difference to a team. I would agree. I think you're so average, maybe okay manager. They're filling out the lineup card, they're making some moves, but at the end of the day, like they're not going to win you any games. Hopefully they probably won't lose you a lot of games, but they're not going to win you any. Carl, I think a manager only capable of swinging a team by 3 to 4 games either way. Ultimately, it's up to the players. Probably true. I mean, if you look at a one run game record, like I mentioned, most of these teams, if you're a few games over 500 there, which is the 3 to 4 games you're talking about, that's probably about it. John Temple, look at Dan Wilson. Here's the keys to a championship roster, but Dan is not good this year. Yeah, and I do think Dan Wilson at times has made some weird moves in terms of bullpen use, pinch hitters, not using pinch hitters, pinch runners. I think Dan has maybe outthought himself, and there's definitely a degree of guys I think that overthink the move because they know what it's going to look like if they get it wrong, and there's almost like that paranoia. Manager sets the tone. Yeah, preparation and competitive nature starts with him. And I do think I think back to like a guy like Tito Francona. Tito's so good at getting guys ready, but also building them up. Making guys, telling them how great they are, telling them when they're playing good, making them feel like they belong, and that confidence goes such a long way. John Carter, I think it's too easy to blame managers. I get that it's easier to replace one than 26. You're right. And who was it last year? It was manager of the Nationals who got fired, and I'm blanking on his name, who basically made that comment of, the coaches, all we can do is coach. The players got to go play. And if they don't play, we don't win. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. If you don't have a good roster, no manager is going to get you to the playoffs. Let's see. Francona made a difference for the Sox. And honestly, I don't see Boone doing much with New York. Agreed, Silix. I think Boone is kind of like Cora. Very likable guy, good with the media, but at the end of the day, doesn't move the needle in the dugout. Yeah, Davey Martinez. Thank you, John. It was Davey Martinez, who was spot on. Absolutely spot on. Are the owners approving so many changes in baseball that making managers less and less relevant because they secretly want to manage the team? I mean, I do think you've got some front offices that are involved in the day-to-day too much, probably. So there's probably some of that where managers, we used to say it with Dave Roberts all the time that somebody filled out the lineup card for him. He just sat in the dugout. It felt that way at times. But so I think you guys are all with me on this one. Mendoza needed to go. That was obvious. The question becomes how much leash does Stearns have, and how patient is Cohen really? So, all right, let's move on. So another firing. So Perry Manation's out in Anaheim. So I don't think this one comes as a huge surprise, although Artie Moreno had kind of given him a vote of confidence in the offseason. But Perry Manasian is gone. Um, Not for lack of trying. Like Nick and I said on the last show, here's a guy. They've made some moves. They've tried. They've gone. They had Otani. They had Rendon. That was a disaster. They've tried. They've made some moves to try to build around Mike Trout. Mike Trout's health doesn't work. Like nothing seems to have gone right for them. But at the same time, they've also never brought in enough other pieces for them to really be competitive. So I think this was a combination of really bad luck, um, not for a lack of trying, and just a lack of depth, which I think we're seeing more and more in a lot of these clubs. There's just no, player development is hard, and the guys that get it right, Andrew Friedman of the Dodgers, who has an unlimited checkbook and is a player develop savant, as well as like Chaim Bloom, player development's his mo. Those guys are hard to find. Guys that can draft well and develop. So I think that Manasian, it was probably time to make a change, but they've never really built up the momentum they truly needed to succeed. What I found interesting here, though, is they brought in John Mozeliak, who, if we recall, left the St. Louis Cardinals after last year, kind of played out the final string and handed the keys to Chaim Bloom. The belief is Mozeliak was retiring. He's coming as an interim, but it sounds like he might be willing to stick around, which makes me wonder if that Cardinal situation was a little bit different than it seemed. But Mozeliak is at least a proven, experienced, long-time front office guy who can at least come in and get things settled. He already told the coaching staff, no need to make big changes. This isn't on you guys. Because again, Suzuki's only there on I think a 1-year deal or short-term deal. You want to let them kind of play out the string and see what you've got there. So let's see what you guys think. So Mike Reed, they need a new owner. It's the only thing that will change something for them. I mean, it's fair. Moreno has not been afraid to spend money, but I feel like they've been a little bit snake bitten since the Rendon thing. They've been a little hesitant to dole out any sort of big contracts. Silix, I agree. My 7-year-old could coach the Dodgers. You're not wrong. You don't have to be a rock star to make that team win. Highlights: the Angels never really addressed pitching. 100%. Year after year after year, we would ask, like, what are their plans for the pitching? Are they going to do anything with the pitching? And the answer is always no. They would nibble around the edges. They got Grayson Rodriguez and, fine. But like, they've never really gone and addressed that in a big way. You say Kikuchi was a nice addition, but like, if you're strapping your future to Kikuchi, then you're already in trouble out of the gate. The John Carter, they could hire Jesus, and I don't think it'd make much of a difference in Anaheim. You may not be wrong. The Angels have tried and failed repeatedly. Tried having one playoff appearance in his career is not on him. Somebody has to go. The Trout thing, and Nick and I were getting into it the last show. It's so sad. It's so sad that Trout is just wasting away in Anaheim, and I don't think he minds. I don't think it's like a problem for him. It's just sad for fans. This man had the 2 best players of our time and didn't sniff being a contender. It's still mind-boggling when you look at that roster that they couldn't get in the playoffs. But again, between Otani and his Tommy John, Trout with some injuries, Rendon with some injuries, you had all 3 of those guys together, but the number of games they actually played together was obscenely low. We actually did the math one of those shows. It was like less than a third of the time they were together, they were actually all healthy. It's wild that they couldn't make that work. WMS, Torey Lovello. All right, this is interesting. I've not heard a lot of bad feedback about Torey Lovello. It sounds like the general consensus in Arizona is they love this guy, but I mean, yes, Lovello is a player's coach. He's an easy guy to work with, deal with. We even heard Jonathan Van Every mention the fact that like he loves Torey Lovello, like one of the nicest guys, best guys he's ever worked around, played for. So yes, man, probably to a certain extent, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's not working. I would say that team could be better, but they've also dealt with a lot of injuries. So can the Giants fire his brother now, even though it's admittedly on Buster? Oh boy. Yeah. The Giants need to just like push the reset button and just start over completely. The The card situation made no sense. Hire Bloom, but don't give him the keys till a year after. So I'm guessing it was more of a forced retiring. And that's my theory, Mike. My theory was they weren't going to fire Mozeliak out of respect. So Heim was available. They grabbed him and then basically told Mozeliak, like, you can either get fired publicly or you can part ways quietly. What do you want to do? I can't wait for the Angels to sweep us the next 3 days and have the struggling Blue Jays to come in and sweep us too. John, we'll get into it. The Mariners are Jekyll and Hyde, man. I feel your pain. And John Carter, Sonny Gray. I mean, you look at his numbers: 9-1 this season. He's like the only guy keeping the Red Sox alive right now. He got off to kind of a weird start, missed a little bit of time, but he's been absolutely lights out since he came back. And that Yankees team is scuffling hard right now. I mean, if you're going to lose 4 straight to the Red Sox, who are a doormat, you got problems. Carl, yes, Trout is the modern Ernie Banks, 100%. And I think that kind of like Ernie Banks, Trout would take loyalty to the team over chasing a ring. And I think he's okay with that. Dodgers pretty much selling everything but the kitchen sink to the Japanese shows their commitment. I mean, fair. Yes, the Angels will always be the little brother in LA. Ohtani going across town was the worst kept secret. Yes, agreed. It's why they couldn't even unload him for rental trade package. 100%. 100%. I mean, everybody knew Ohtani was leaving. The Angels they say they made an attempt, but let's be serious. There's just no way he was staying. And the Dodgers made too much sense. The only other team we thought might be possible is like the Yankees to go to another big market, but the Dodgers to stay on the West Coast closer to Japan made way too much sense. Yeah, and John, I don't trust any team this year. Just, nope, I'm with you. Especially in the American League, I trust nobody. But, all right, so I think we're all kind of on the same page here. Angels, struggles. Obviously, Manasian needed to go. They need to completely retool what they're doing. They've got to draft better, develop better, trade better. They've got to sign some good players. The Rendon thing's behind them now. Maybe next offseason will be different, but they definitely, if they're going to get aggressive again, I think they need a new guy at the helm. So to me, the move from Manasian right now is the right thing to do. All right, moving on. In our weekly Jacob Mizrowski segment, because we can't stop talking about this guy, he threw a pitch the other night, 105.5 miles per hour, tied for third fastest pitch ever recorded, tied with the volunteer firefighter Ben Joyce. 105.5 out of a starter. Can we just talk about how ridiculous this kid is? In that game, he threw 41 pitches over 100 miles an hour. Over 100. I mean, he threw almost 40% of the pitches he threw for the night over 100. I don't think we've seen a starter like this ever before. And Skenes, yes, throws gas. This kid is at a whole nother level. His ability to not just hit 100, but hit 101, 102 consistently, night after night, inning after inning, reminds me a little bit of Justin Verlander, where it seems like he gets better as the game goes on. He gets stronger as the game goes on. The velocity picks up. I don't know what I don't know what you do against this guy. I have no idea. And the worst part about it is it's 105.5 and he's dotting it on the corner. It's not like he's just like throwing it down the middle. It's super hard. Like he's not only throwing with gas, but he's throwing with control. It's just not right. 105 dotted on the corner should be illegal. Like you should not be allowed to throw that pitch. John, I was looking at his stats the other day. He leads the league with a 144 batting average against. Next closest is Yamamoto at 192. That's a ridiculous stat. I totally agree. This kid's stat line looks like a video game. I mean, everything, the whip, the strikeouts, the Ks per 9, the walks per 9. Yeah. Now you talk about velocity, batting average against, like, holy crap. It just shouldn't be right. Silix, Miz said he'll throw 107 at some point. If anyone can do it, it's him. At this point, all bets are off. I will believe anything you tell me about this kid. It's all possible. I've never seen somebody do what he's doing as well as he's doing it, as consistently as he's doing it. It's just unseen. And he's becoming must-see TV for me. Like when I see the Brewers game is on, I check to see who's pitching. If he's pitching, I'm watching. Because it's just absurd. Batter should get to come to the plate in a damn suit of armor against Miz. Forrest, I'm with you, man. I can't imagine standing there and taking 105 and 100 miles per hour plus multiple times. No thanks. I'll pass. He's Carl. He's truly amazing, and it pains me to say that as a Cubs fan. But at what point does his elbow explode? This is what I've been saying all along with this kid. I think this is incredible. But my only thing is, how long does it last? Because that elbow at some point is going to explode. I mean, if they showed a slow mo of his delivery, it might have been his last start, and the arm whip. I mean, it looks like DeGrom. His hand is like almost underneath his elbow when it's coming over, because the arm whip is so strong. And I feel like at some point that elbow is just going to explode. Mike Reed, blow his arm out in a year or two. Yes. Yes, I think so. Yeah, this dude is ridiculous with this kind of gas. A starter means Tommy John by September. Chad, yes. It's coming. It's sad, but it's coming. Still looks out the top 100 fastest pitches by a starting pitcher. He's 98 of them now. I mean, every night it's something new with him. It's a new pattern. It's just absurd. Ryan, imagine catching this for 6 or 7 innings. Hats off to Contreras for getting behind the dish and catching this kid. I can't imagine trying to catch 105 and then the disgusting breaking stuff he has and the way he moves things around. Like, no shot. Yeah, John Carter, 0.77 whip. The numbers just aren't right. Silic Science has said the highest possible speed a human could throw is 108.6, and that's with 100% perfect conditions. Yeah, and these guys are at, maybe 85% perfect conditions throwing 105. It's inevitable, but we talk about this kid every week. He does something new we've never seen. It just continues to blow my mind. And then, I was not high on him coming into this year because he had that kind of rough stretch in the second half last year. It seemed like he either wore down, they figured him out. Boy, has he proven us all wrong. And he's off to an unbelievable start. So again, must-see TV, got to watch this kid. Wild what he does every night. All right, so to the other side of the equation here, and Cole Ragans. So Cole Ragans came out of a game in, I believe it was early May, hasn't pitched since. He is now scheduled to have elbow surgery on Wednesday, so the 1st. They don't know the extent of the injury until they actually get in there to see it. They're hoping that it's a minor kind of patch him up and get him back out there soon, but there's also the possibility they find greater damage and this becomes the end of his season and maybe it creeps into the next. So another guy kind of like Miz, obviously not like Miz, but kind of like him. Guy throws hard, a lot of arm whip, but this is where you end up. And it's not good. I mean, the Royals are a absolute disaster. And having this kid go down, it just makes it worse. And Mike Reed, I had the same question. Why did it take so long to decide to go this route? I don't know. I feel like they were hoping they could rest and rehab, and it didn't get better. And then they're like, well, let's go cut it open and see what's in there. I feel like they spent probably an extra 30 days waiting around when they probably should have just sent him right. Because the surgery is being done by Neil Elatrache, who does all of these. He's the kind of the best elbow guy out there. They should have been seeing him right out of the gate, because I have my fear is that this is going to be far worse than they're expecting. Out for the year, can recover during the strike. Yeah, I mean, I don't. My gut tells me we don't see Ragans again this year. It's at a minimum you're looking at an elbow surgery. It's going to take him out of the season. It may even creep into next, which may not matter if there's no baseball. He's done. Lugo still can't see straight. Yeah, the Royals are toast. That team is an absolute disaster. They can't score any runs. The pitching's kind of falling apart on them. The pitching really carried them last year. I mean, you look back at last year, they had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They had an offense that was kind of at the other end of the spectrum, one of the top 10 pitching or top 5 pitching, bottom 10 offense. And now they both are terrible. And this team just can't figure it out. Yeah, no, Michael, there are, I know the Braves tend to have all the arm injuries, but believe it or not, they're spreading. It's like the Braves, it's like it's gotten contagious, and the Braves have like passed the arm injuries around because, usually the Braves stockpile the arm injuries, but word's getting around the league and they all want their part of it. Mike Reed, this is also why owners want to limit contract lengths because for pitchers, they basically know they're going to lose a year somewhere in a deal for an arm surgery. 100%. I mean, I, I've said it many times. Like if I'm an owner, I'm hesitant to sign a pitcher to a 5, 6, 7, 8 year deal because I know that I'm going to lose one, if not two seasons in there, and it's guaranteed money. Unless I mean, I can go pay to have the contract insured, which a lot of them do. Um, but at the end of the day, like why I don't want to pay you 100% of the money for 3/4 of the production. That's just it's not good math. Most likely out until 2028. Totally agree, Michael. John Carter, I forgot where I heard it, but I think I heard some Bobby Witt trade seam. I don't see it, but do you think it's possible? There's we talked on one of the last shows. There's definitely been a pickup in the Bobby Witt trade conversation, but I feel like Witt's kind of like Trout. He's unless there's like a really crazy reason to leave, I think he's there. I don't think he's looking to move. I think he signed that long-term deal. He wants the comfort. He wants to be the guy there. He wants to, plant roots and stay. So I feel like is it possible? I think if there was like a really, really good opportunity that made a ton of sense, yes. But I think it's going to take an insanely perfect situation and package to make that happen. Yeah, and Silix agrees. He's going to be the next Trout. Yep. Yeah. Carl, you're not wrong. Yeah, Witt is all the Royals have to watch for the most part. Witt's the only reason to watch them right now. I mean, Pasquatch is out, Raggins is out, Lugo's a mess. Um, Caglianone has his moments, but he's still coming along. I mean, Michael Garcia was really the only other guy that was worth watching for a little bit. So, and I think there's even rumors that he might be on the trade block. So I'm not sure what Kansas City plans on doing, but they I don't want to see KC tear it down. I'd rather see KC play this season out and then go address some things in the offseason when you really have a better look at what you've got because trading Garcia doesn't help you this year or next year or the year after that. Like you're beginning to build something here that was looking decent until he hit the injury bug this year and also the offense fell apart. I would hate to see them completely shift gears and start dumping, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, Ryan, Witt leaving KC seems crazy to me. I agree. And Forrest, I think you're right. They will attract a supporting cast who want to play with Witt. Like I think you need the guy to build around. He is that guy. Trading him does you no good. But you've got to really begin to fill out the cast around him. Yeah, and John Salvi. Salvi needs to retire. He's done. I agree. I would love to see Salvi be in baseball literally forever. But he's definitely he's playing the 18th hole of his career right now, and it's about over. And I feel kind of like for him, like I did with Votto, great ambassador for the game, great teammate, just great overall guy. But like when it's time, it's time. And I think for him, it's getting to be time. And Ryan, I agree. Cagliano will be a star. He got 5 minutes to develop in the minors. He did, and that's 100% fair. He was fast tracked to the major league club because they had no offense, and they thought, well, geez, maybe he can help. And if nothing else, at least he'll learn on the job because the guys we got now aren't doing it either. So it wasn't going to hurt us. But so yeah, I think we all agree. Royals, they are a mess. Yes, tearing it apart doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's hope they, cooler heads prevail and they just focus on the offseason. All right. More bad news for KC. I'm not sure if you guys saw this score the other night. The White Sox put up 22 runs against the Royals. They won that game 22-1. So bad enough for the Royals the season they're having. This was downright embarrassing. They gave up 10 runs in the third. They responded back with 1 in the fourth and then just got steamrolled the rest of the night. They gave up 22 runs on 23 hits. They only made 1 error. Like this, the White Sox earned every bit of this. But it begs the question now. Is it time to take the White Sox seriously? They are now a top 10 offense in MLB. They haven't had Murakami for almost a month. They continue to pummel teams. They've played about 500 in June. They were really good in May. They were 18-10. They're about 500 this month. Again, the pitching's still not fantastic, but This team can absolutely rake. And is it time to actually think this team could make a playoff run? I don't know, throwing it out there. I just every time I go, "No, I'm not buying them yet," they do something like this, and I go, "Man, like, at what point do I have to just give up and say, maybe they're better than I thought?" Like, I thought this was I thought this was a 500 team at best, like, absolute best case 500. And here they are leading the Central. Again, not that saying a lot because the AL's a mess, the Central's a mess, but, I mean, let's be serious. Like, they're leading a Major League Baseball division after almost setting a record for losses. So let's, I mean, what are we doing here? Is it time to actually take this team seriously? Ryan, that was my reaction too. Like this, losing by 3 touchdowns is wild. I mean, we've seen some beatdowns, but like this was brutal, just brutal. Chad, yeah, I think I agree. The way the AL is this year, you have to. I think the AL is so bad, and the White Sox have improved that you almost have to take them seriously. I think other years, this is the team that probably is fighting to stay around 500 all year. I think just how weak the AL is, there's a window here where a lesser team can creep up the standings. We're seeing the White Sox do it. Mike Reed, you think they'll fall off in August? I think they. My feeling is they're going to have to fall off at some point because you can't keep scoring 3 touchdowns on people because you can't outpitch that. You can't outhit that pitching staff every night. But every time I say that, they do it. So I don't think I can predict when they fall off, but at some point this has got to catch up. John Carter, not nearly enough pitching or experience to inspire confidence for me. Agreed. That's where I've been the whole time. Is I don't. It's a super young team. That pitching staff is bad on its best day. They have some bright spots, but I just wildly inconsistent. I just don't know. I don't know what. I don't know what you can get from them. I just don't think you can get enough of them all year long. Sox need to start a middle reliever and have a go. Yeah, I mean, if the White Sox go make some moves at the trade deadline, yeah, I could see that. I mean, yeah, don't disagree. To be fair, 500 in the AL gets you to the playoffs. Mike, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but you're right. Like right now, you can be 500 and get in the playoffs in the American League. So it's a very low bar. Very low bar. Are there any legit teams in the AL? I'm not sure about it. I mean, there's not many. I think the Yankees are legit. Yeah, there you go. I think the Yankees are legit. Everybody else has got like glaring problems and will eventually catch up. Vargas for the Sox having a great year, not even mentioned for the All-Star game. You're so right. We'll talk a little bit about the All-Star game voting here in a bit, but you are right. We all Detroit near the top of the division. The Pale Hose at the bottom before the season started. We couldn't have been more wrong. 100% right. Yeah, I sadly had Detroit like third in the division behind the Royals and the Guardians. I was wrong on the Royals. I was right-ish on the Guardians. I was not a huge fan of Detroit. I thought the collapse last year was who they really were. I definitely had the White Sox towards the bottom. I think I had them fourth and the Twins fifth. So I had the Central all wrong. And I was even more conservative than most, and I still had it all wrong. I think I think everybody's eating crow on the Central right now. Carl, I saw a stat earlier today. There are only 4 teams over 500 in the AL. It's completely up for grabs. 100% true. The AL is a mess. Like I said, we'll get into here in a little bit. It's not good. No one in the AL will take down the Dodgers in October. The Brewers will have to do it. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, other than the Yankees, and mostly because of their pitching staff. I mean, lining up Cole and Schlittler and Fried, like, good luck. I'm not sure who in the American League could even have a shot. Like, I think the World Series champion is going to come from the National League, and they're going to have to duke it out to figure out who goes. Yankees need Judge back. Yes, they do. Joseph, I think my Tigers are legit. I almost got that out without laughing. Yeah, the Tigers are a mess, and I think that it's they need to start fielding offers for Scooble and move on and just reset it and start looking towards next year if there is one. And still, look, you're not wrong. Central's going to flip 5 more times before the end of the year. Yes, it will. It always, the Central always seems to. The Central is one of those divisions that always seems like it's volatile and it bounces around a lot. So I guess we'll see. But I every time I think this White Sox team, you know, is going to fall apart or they've gone as far as they can, they just continue to surprise me. All right. Speaking of surprise, let's go to the NL Central now. So Paul Skenes records his 500th career strikeout. So congratulations to Mr. Skenes on 500 Ks. But the Pirates lost his 8th straight start. Can we make this make sense? Now, I will say Paul Skenes has a career high ERA of 3.1. He's 6-7 with a 3.10 ERA. He's now raised his career ERA over 2. So definitely, having an off season for him. Granted, the bar is set so unbelievably high for him, it's not even fair. But how do the Pirates lose 8 straight starts for this guy when he's given up, except for one start, 2 runs or less in that stretch? In those 7 starts, he's given up 2 runs or less in those 8 starts. He's given up 2 runs or less in 7 of them, I believe, and only one of those he gave up. I think it was 4 runs. And yet they lose every time he starts. Now, I remember the Red Sox days where Tim Wakefield would give up 3 runs and lose because they never scored any runs for him. But this is getting to be absurd because you are talking about a guy who's giving up on average, 2 runs before he leaves the game, and you can't win a start. And we said it going into the season, slightly better offense. Are we going to finally see Paul Skenes put up some numbers? And he's having his worst season ever. Again, a 3.10 ERA being your worst season ever is ridiculous in its own right. But this is nuts. This is nuts that they've lost 8 straight starts. Mike Reed. The Pirates figure they don't need to score from, so they go in saying it's an easy day, guys. I mean, it feels that way. Every other pitcher gets more run support. Paul Skenes gets none. And it's constant. And that offense is, not necessarily great, but it's not terrible. They should be able to manage some wins for this guy, and yet they can't win any games he starts. I mean, they've scored the most runs in the NL Central. They've outscored the friggin' Brewers. They've scored more runs than everybody in the NL East except for the Nationals. I mean, that Pirates team they scored the 3rd most runs in the National League. They score runs. It's not a matter of scoring runs. They just don't score them for him. Silix, they can't hit, and if he was on any team with a decent offense, he'd be a top 3 Cy Young again, 100%. Yes, he would be. Michael, also their bullpen is atrocious. Yes. The bullpen's not good. But they lost the other night, was it 3-2? He gave up 2 runs. Bullpen gave up 1. But it's still 3-2 game. You can only match what he did. He's Nolan Ryan with better control with the Angels in the 70s, 13-17 to 3.30 ERA with 350 Ks. Yes, John. 100%. He is that guy. That Pirates team doesn't show up for him. Now, granted, they were bad for the first couple of years and they couldn't show up. Now they've gotten a little bit better. They still can't show up. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. 8 straight losses in his starts is wild. He's got an ERA just over 3, which is the worst of his career, which is still absurd. It doesn't make any sense to me how they can't win any starts. Chad, most guys would take a 3.1 ERA, but I wonder with Skenes if it's not taking a mental toll, not getting the run support. Fair. I don't disagree. They, at what point do you go out there just feeling like it doesn't matter what you do, you can't win? Because they don't get anything for him. So this is a great point. Max Fried did have a year where he couldn't get any run support with Atlanta, but Strider would get all the run support. He'd get 6 runs per game. It was insane. Yeah. And there are sometimes just those seasons where you line up against, tough matchups or guys that have the best night of their season, or, you don't have any luck. But it's wild to think that you can't win a Paul Skenes start. He's got Livy Dunn. He's always winning. You're not wrong, John. And Ryan, the Pirates are going to find some way to pirate. Oh, it's so true. It's as much as they've changed, they're still the same. So, anyways, I hope the Pirates figure this out and stop wasting what limited time you have left of this guy, because this is just sad. You look at the Pirates; they are 2.5 games out of the wild card. If they could have just won a few of the games he started in the last 8, if they go 500 in those, they're a playoff team right now. Like, this is a team that is right on the edge, and losing 8 straight starts from your ace is not helping. It's just you're going to miss the playoffs literally because you can't win games he starts. Ryan, feels like Skenes become a Yankees inevitable conclusion here. Ah, God, I hate that you said that, and you're not wrong. Although I will say, with the emergence of Cam Schlittler, I don't know that the Yankees have the same pressing need for a guy like Skenes that they did even a year ago. But I feel like a team like the Mets will throw a bag at this guy, knowing that they need somebody. So maybe it's a battle of the New York teams to sign him. I don't know, but it would be a little crazy. All right, moving on. So Nick and John Carter and Forrest, you guys got to see this happen, but Hunter Goodman is the new owner of Target Field. You can see the key ring right attached to his belt. He now owns Target Field. He had 3 home runs against the Twins on Saturday. He had 1 on Friday. He's been a one-man wrecking crew on this trip to Minnesota. And, he's now got 25 home runs on the year. I feel like, although we've talked about the Rockies quite a bit and the fact they've made some progress and they're getting better, I still feel like a guy like Hunter Goodman is one of the kind of least known superstars in baseball. I mean, this is a guy, he's on pace for 50 home runs out of the catcher position. I mean, last year we couldn't stop talking about Cal Raleigh and his home run chase. Hunter Goodman's just doing his thing and nobody seems to care. But he is absolutely raking. This Colorado team has got a few young guys, Goodman being one of them, that make me believe the future could be bright there if they don't screw this up. Now, notice I said don't screw this up because we all know that that's what they could do. Forrest, no, I don't want to talk about that next topic, please. John Carter, all 3 were bombs. First one on Saturday was third tank on a hanging slider by Paredes. They were not cheapies. They were not cheapies. All these freaking catchers can rake. I've never seen so many catchers who are feared at the plate like nowadays. I think you're right, Silix. We had a stretch there. We had a bunch of these defensive catchers come up, the Maldonados of the world. And it seemed like the catcher position was shifting back to more of a defensive position. And then now all of a sudden we have this kind of offensive flip where you've got the Cal Raleighs and you've got the Hunter Goodmans. You got, Austin Wells. You have guys who are more offensively driven catchers. And we really weren't seeing that for a while. So I think you're right. I think there is definitely a shift here. Ryan Taylor, Rocky Stover Ball Club. Who is this dude? This is a dude everybody should know. Everybody should know Hunter Goodman. I mean, this kid absolutely just crushes the ball. He is really, really good. And you're right, Michael. Unfortunately, he plays in Denver, so no one sees him. He's an unknown superstar because of where he plays. You put Hunter Goodman, and now people say if you move him out of Colorado, he wouldn't hit the same way. Maybe you're right, but if you put Hunter Goodman in, even a place like Baltimore or somewhere that was a little bit bigger, he'd get more attention. But in Colorado, yeah, nobody's paying attention. Yeah, Nick was legit rooting for a 4th dinger from that guy. Nick loves Hunter Goodman. He's loved Hunter Goodman for 2 or 3 years now. He's all about Hunter Goodman. Even asked Clint Hurdle point blank about Hunter Goodman. I think Nick is like entering that fanboy status for Goodman. They used to come up as catchers and then moved to other positions a lot more back in the day. No, you're right, Ryan. You're totally right. We used to have a lot of guys that would come up as catchers, and you'd find them somewhere else. Kyle Schwarber came up as a catcher. Craig Biggio came up as a catcher. There are so many guys out there that came up as catchers and ended up somewhere else because they found that whether it was a physical toll or maybe not quite having the defensive skills, they were better off somewhere else. but they get hit, so they wanted to find a room for their bat. Yeah, Silik's right. He doesn't hit barely home runs. There always no doubt about it. E Any home run I've seen him hit this year, I've probably seen him hit 4 or 5 when I was watching games, that I didn't watch highlights on, that I actually saw live. When, like, he makes contact and your head, like, immediately pops up to the TV, like, what just happened? Because it was loud. Like, it sounds different. Let's see. The Braves front was working long-term deals for Baldy and Walt. Silik's if the Braves could lock up Baldwin, that would be very, very smart. Um, why would you not? I mean, these catchers that can also hit are, I mean, Sean Murphy was that guy for a lot of years until his body started to give up on him. But those catchers that can do both are not many. Like, there's just not many of them. So you protect him as much as you can. Yeah, his contact sounds like Tommy's contact. Yes, it's loud. Very loud. So yeah, I just thought this was really cool. Hunter Goodman just tearing the Twins apart, having a monster season. Nobody's talking about him. I think he's a name we're going to start to hear a lot more. Carl, I actually so Carl says, did you see the Rays broadcaster troll Kepler with his warning track fly out? He said something like 80 games ago that was a homer. I did see the clip. I sent it to Nick so we could both laugh about it because that was rough. That was a rough troll. Hits a high fly ball right to the wall in center field. It's caught, and that was his comment. 80 games ago, that might have been a home run. And like it's kind of silence in the broadcast booth for a second, and you kind of hear a chuckle, and they move on. But yeah, that's Kepler's he's gonna hear a lot of that. And Ryan, no, I don't think Hunter Goodman's numbers, power numbers at least, are as inflated being at Coors, because in Coors he's not hitting first row home runs. He's hitting these things, halfway up the bleachers. They're not cheapies. But anyways, yeah, Hunter Goodman, I thought this was really cool. I thought it was really cool that Nick, John, and Forrest got to see him hit the 3 home runs live. That was pretty neat. So I want to make sure I included this. Sorry guys, but pretty cool. All right. And then in even more reasons why it was a bad week to be a baseball, we had Kyle Schwarber. He is now the fastest player in Phillies history to 30 home runs in a season. So game 80, he hit his 30th home run, fastest in team history. At the same time, Junior Caminero has now hit 7 home runs in his last 6 games. Absurd. You want to talk about another guy who makes absurdly loud contact? I was watching a game the other night when he hit one of these home runs, and I was actually in the other room when he hit it, and I went, "Oh man, that sounded that sounded epic." And sure enough, ball absolutely left the yard, and it was an absolute rocket. You could have hung laundry off that rope. And everything this guy hits he hits it hard, and it is loud. But yeah, definitely a bad week to be a baseball around the league, with Goodman pummeling home runs, Schwarber hitting more, Caminero hitting more. Just absolutely, yeah. Carl, Caminero's on a heater. This might be like, is there a level beyond heater? Because that might be where Caminero is. It is wild to watch this guy. And I've been watching him for the last few years because I just love his swing and his game, and just continuing to see him develop and get better is, he is scary. He's gonna be a weapon. He's gonna look great in one of these big market teams when he leaves Tampa. I hope the Red Sox sign this guy. He would probably knock the Green Monster down. It is it's unreal the power this guy has. Ryan, Schwarber's the greatest softball player to ever step on a field. I guarantee it, dude. Everything about him just screams beer league softball. Like, when Schwarber retires, he's going to be it's like some local field playing softball. So, 100%. Junior keeps smashing that ball. I got 4 different graded auto rookie cards of his that keep going up. I bet those cards are probably already worth a decent chunk of change. I can only imagine what they'll be worth if he keeps hitting like this, because there's nothing about his swing or his approach that tells me he won't continue to hit like this. He's not one of those guys who's going to have a short peak and then fall off unless it's injuries, because that swing is so pure. The timing is good. He hits everything everywhere. He doesn't get fooled. I would not. At what point do you just not pitch to him when he's when he's hitting like this, at what point you just say, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to be the guy that, gives us the next one. Because keep in mind, this is the most home runs in a 6-game span, I think, in baseball history that if I saw that correctly. Um, this is a historic stretch. So again, like Heater. Yeah, Silik's the phase past Heater is just called Bonds. Yeah. He's having one of those Bonds weeks where you just hit an absurd number of home runs. Mike Reed, he's on fire from NBA Jam. That was you couldn't miss from anywhere. Yeah, that is absolutely the truth here. It's another level. Oh yeah, I'm up against him in fantasy this week. I'm losing by Caminero. Carl, that's a rough draw. Because there's one guy in fantasy you don't want to be facing this week. It's him and maybe Hunter Goodman, because those points pile up fast. Michael, I'm waiting for Schwarbs to walk up and put a beer on the plate for the at bat. Yeah, or put the empty koozie in his back pocket until he grabs another one. I just screams beer league softball. Wow, one of them you paid 80, it's now worth 12.50. Yeah, I would imagine Camanero's card stock is going to keep going up. So it's every time you think you've seen what he can do, he just does something more, and it's really really fun to watch. It's the same kind of sad story. He's in Tampa Bay, so not as many people know who he is as they should, but I feel like what he's doing and being on the East Coast is going to help him versus a guy like Goodman who's lost out in Colorado. Speaking of fantastic, Nick had Goodman on his bench yesterday. so of course Nick goes out and drafts Hunter Goodman and then sat him for that 3 home run. So yeah, that's awesome. That's good for Nick. Nick can yell at himself as a manager. And then Schwarber's favorite player, of course, is of course country boy Nolan Ryan. Has to be. But yeah, so not a good week to be baseball around Major League Baseball because these guys are absolutely pummeling them. All right, we have to do it. We have to bring this up. He's back. Tommy Pham signs a minor league deal in Philly. So you'll see his Mets uniform kind of crossed out and just hung a Phillies emblem on it so he can get to town. Minor league deal in Philly. The belief is he will probably be up at the big club shortly because they've had all kinds of outfield issues. And they need somebody. They need something to change. So the thinking is he'll sign he signed this deal. He's heading to minor league. He's going to basically get ready as fast as he can to then be prepared to get called up because it sounds like the Phillies are counting on him to get ready quickly and then come up and help because they need it. They need it bad. They are not anywhere close to where they should be. So please go away, please. I mean, as long as he's not managing the fantasy football league, then I think you're okay. I don't think he's going to be that big a problem. That news broke during the Twins game last night. Me, Forrest, and Nick had a good talk about that clown. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I had to include it. When I saw Nick sent me a message that the news broke, I was like, no way. Sure enough, I saw it like 10 minutes later. It's like, how does this guy keep coming back? Like, at what point has the league just had enough and we don't need him anymore? The dude's got way more than 9 lives. He's more than a cat. That looks exactly like an old Topps traded card where they just quickly, kind of image over the uniform. Oh, Mike, you're so right. He'll hit a walk-off homer against the Mets at some point this year. Yes, he will. Inevitably. And so Tommy Pham's going to get called up. He's going to go on like a 2-week heater. He's going to look like the savior, and then he's going to spend the rest of the year hitting 100. But because of those 2 weeks, it will all have been worth it. This guy can't go away. Ryan, although he just signed this deal, he's already negotiating his contract for next year with yet another club. He is. I mean, I've never seen somebody want to beat Edwin Jackson's record more than this guy. I mean, he will literally go anywhere. If you have money, I will travel. And he's not afraid to start in the minors and get called up, work his way back up. Holy cow. There are very few players I like less than this guy. I've got one guy I definitely like less than this guy. It's Manny Machado. But yeah, Tommy Pham, he's a hard guy to like. I remember me, Sean, and Nick went down to the games and we were razzing him. It's fun. Mets only club to give him a second chance. That chance lasted 4 games. Yes, it did. But it sounds like the Phillies might be more desperate than the Mets were when that happened. So I guess we'll see. What's his team tally? I looked it up the other day, Michael, and I wish I could remember now. It was, let's see, Tommy Pham has played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams. This would be team number 11. So, again, not quite Edwin Jackson level, but he's getting there. Like Jason and Freddie, just don't die milking that cash cow for everything it's worth. I mean, Tommy Pham, he will keep going. If people keep calling him, he's going to keep showing up, and we'll never get rid of this guy. Ryan, to be this much of a nuisance, still get this many chances is unfathomable. It really is. Like, what do people? I mean, what do they see in this guy still? Like, he hasn't been a productive player since 2021, 2022, maybe. Like, you haven't gotten a good season out of this guy since back in like the Tampa days. I mean, San Diego, he was okay, but I mean, you haven't gotten much out of him. I mean, he had a good in 2023 with the Mets. He had an okay run, but of course, he was played for 2 teams in 23, 3, 4 in 24. He wasn't good anywhere last 24. He wasn't good last year. I don't know. I somehow this guy keeps getting a shot. Somebody sees something in him. He's going to come in as pinch hitter in the 8th against Robert Suarez, catch 101 in the ear hole. Yep, he might. Yeah, Ryan Machado. I strongly agree on my. Yeah, can't stand Machado. That's funny, Forrest. Funny, this news led to us talking about your feelings about Manny Machado too. Yeah, I'm very vocal. I'm very, very transparent with my dislike of Manny Machado. The Arizona clubhouse is going to pile on him and make him disappear if they didn't get rid of him. The dude he seems to wear out his welcome everywhere he goes. And at this point, with all the free agency moves, like he's always going into clubhouses where guys know him from somewhere and probably already don't like him when he gets there. Like, I can't imagine he gets a warm welcome anywhere when he shows up. So I don't know. I couldn't help myself. I had to put this in because gotta love it. But so yeah, Tommy Pham back again. We might see him in Philly, but why not? It's not a Major League Baseball season if we don't see Tommy Pham. So anyways, all right, let's get in the All-Star voting. This will be fun. So the first phase of the All-Star voting is complete, and your leading vote getters are Shohei Ohtani in the National League with 3,341,257 votes. And in the American League, your leading vote getter is, oh wait, it's not Aaron Judge. It's Ernie Clement with 3,232,932 votes. Ernie Clement had just over 100,000 votes fewer than Shohei Ohtani. I had to go back and read this at least twice to make sure I didn't miss it, because I couldn't believe that Ernie Clement had gotten so many votes. Love Ernie Clement, but wow. Well, I mean, wow. That's wild. If there's ever poison to a team, it's Manny Machado. Yes, Michael, totally agree. But I mean, I'm not sure how many of you guys had Ernie Clement being the leading AL vote getter on your bingo card. I didn't have it. I was completely shocked at this. So of course they get free passes, automatic passes to be starters. And really, I mean, with the playoff and World Series run he had last year, with all the hits he had, he's got the whole country behind him. I mean, they absolutely stuffed the ballot boxes for him. I couldn't believe it. Or bots are voting. This needs investigated. I mean, honestly, Ryan, it's the fact that you got a whole country with only one team to vote for. Like, if they really care, they're going to get it. And Carl, fan voting has to stop determining the starters. I don't disagree. There needs to be some balance of like fan voting and voting around the league, because it's crazy to think Ernie Clement was considered your most popular player. Most popular, yes, but like best player. You'd hope that the best player, you expect Aaron Judge right there. And you got Ernie Clement, which is wild to think. But so what I will say is you got Clement and Shohei are the leading vote getters. As you go a little further down for catcher in the American League, so we'll start with the American League. At catcher, Shea Langoliers and Alejandro Kirk are leading there. First base, you got Vladdy Jr. and Ben Rice. Third base, you got Okamoto from the Blue Jays and Junior Caminero from the Rays. Shortstop, you get Bobby Witt and Andres Jimenez, another Blue Jays player. In the outfield, you got Judge, Trout, Byron Buxton, Cody Bellinger, Dalton Varsho, Jesus Sanchez. So 2 Blue Jays in the outfield. Designated hitter, you got Jordan and George Springer, another Blue Jay. In the NL, you got Drake Baldwin and Will Smith at the catcher position. You got Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson at first. You got Ozzie Albies and Bryson Stott at second. You got Max Muncy and Alec Boehm at third. You got CJ Abrams and Mookie Betts at short. Pausing to go back to third base, Alec Boehm getting votes here must really piss the Phillies off. In the outfield, you got Pajes, Brandon Marsh, Acuna, Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, and Michael Harris the second. So I think overall the voting makes sense, but I'm with Michael here. Canada needs to be suspended from All-Star voting. The number of Blue Jays in that are in the top of the voting is kind of crazy. Apparently the Canadian fans are all in on the Blue Jays because that doesn't even make sense to have some of those guys voted in. Not that I don't love guys like Dalton Varsho and Jesus Sanchez, but are they really all-stars? I don't know. I feel like probably not. But I feel like you got a whole country with only one team. Apparently the whole country's all in. There's definitely something going on there. Not a stupid question, Penny. So the first voting for All-Stars happens from the fans. So it's an open ballot. You can go online and vote for all the guys you want. You can vote. So I think it's like up to 10 times per day. And that determines kind of your first wave of All-Stars. And then the rest of the roster is made up by front office coaches, players voting. So it's really fan voting determines your starters. So, to kind of Carl, I think it was Carl's point before of fan voting is, kind of outrageous because it becomes a popularity contest, not necessarily, who's the best player, just who do they like the most. So, and if the fans in Canada are engaged and excited, then yeah, the Blue Jays are going to do well. And they did. And I'm not saying that some of those guys don't deserve to go, but that's a lot of Blue Jays. And it's also crazy to think Ernie Clement's the top vote getter compared to some of the other guys in the American League. So strange. But anyways, like I said, I had to read this 2 or 3 times to make sure I had it right. I didn't believe it at first, but here we are. Ernie Clement was your top vote getter in the American League. So let's move on to a happier topic. So not sure if you all saw the latest CBA proposals that came around this kind of last 5 or 6 days. MLB has made another proposal that really got the Players Association's attention. So here's kind of a rough breakdown. This is not everything. It's just kind of the highlights. So they want to move the minimum salary from the $780 up to $1 million. Cool. Free agency starts after 5 years if the player reaches 30 in that window. So they basically, it's 6 years now, but if they're 30 when they hit that 5th year, they can go early. So for the guys that come up a little bit later, they can take a little bit of time off. They would eliminate deferred contracts. They would also eliminate the qualifying offer. And I know the qualifying offer is kind of a love it or hate it scenario. But they would eliminate that. So if a free agent changes teams, they could sign a 5-year contract maximum up to $202 million. If a free agent is returning to their team, they could sign a 6-year contract maximum up to $265 million. So if you return to your team, you actually could get a better deal than if you went somewhere else. Obviously, by eliminating the qualifying offer, they replace that with a longer term to return to your team, so that the team that has control currently is kind of the leader or has the best opportunity to get them. There's going to be a 30% increase to the pre-arbitration pool, moving up to $65 million. And then we talked about the draft changes on a previous show. High schoolers are out, pool money changes. But so this is the latest CBA proposal from MLB. Is now they're kind of really getting into the contracts. So the first proposal was talking, we're talking salary cap and floor and some rough things. And now here's some of the details coming out. And yes, Michael, this is kind of like the bird rule in NBA. Yes. So if you re-sign with your team, they can give you a better deal. I think the deal is you can give them a max of 15% of your total payroll if they return, and it's less if they go somewhere else. That's how they came up with the math of 6 years, 265. But ultimately, they want to give teams a chance to retain their young players, but at the same time, they don't want to do the qualifying offer thing anymore. They don't want to see these absurd contracts, all this deferred money, because really that kind of defeats the purpose. And Mike Reed's not wrong. The owners are kind of saving themselves from giving out big contracts. Yes, to a certain extent. Um, they are now. What I will say is that the 5 year and the 6 year piece returning to a team, that's 6 years at the point of free agency. So you could still sign a guy in his first year to a 12-year deal. 6 years of control, 6 years of free agency. So you could still sign a Bobby Witt in his second year to an 11-year contract. So you can still make those crazy big contracts, but it's going to be to guys that are currently in that pre-free agency period, pre-arbitration period. So it's a slightly different look at the I'd say the super long extended contracts. So I guess I'm curious, what if you guys saw this before? Do you have any, what do you guys think about it? Is there anything in here you think is just absolutely ridiculous, or do you think MLB's being realistic? Which I hate to say it, I feel like MLB's kind of being the more reasonable one of the two. But Silic says this is a great place for them to talk from because a lot makes sense and a lot is tweakable. Yes, I think there's a lot of good things in here for the players. They're going to see the contract terms and they're going to hate that, I'm sure. And they immediately jumped all over it, saying that they didn't like that for a variety of reasons. But I think it's hard to outright hate the proposal because they're at least putting some thought into it. And Mike Reed, you're right. The owners know the players aren't going to agree to any of these deals they propose. Yes, 100%. I think MLB is putting these proposals out right now in as great detail as they are to really educate the fans on what they're trying to create. Because I think if nothing else, MLB is trying to win the court of public opinion. John Temple, no high schoolers is garbage. I mean, I get it. I get the desire to have them in there. I get the desire not to have them in there. I don't feel strongly about that one. I thought I would, but I don't necessarily feel super strong either way. I think it's a good idea to save these kids from themselves and make them go get some experience and development somewhere else. But if they're that good, why not? Right? I mean, if they're ready to go, they're ready to go. Carl, most of these proposals are decent, with the exception being the draft changes. The draft changes are detrimental to baseball. They're sabotaging player development big time. Yeah, I agree, Carl. There's definitely some stuff in those draft changes that I think will be really hard to straight face as good for the game. I don't know. I don't know that I'm with you on sabotaging player development, but I definitely think they're making it harder. I also think they're going to make these kids older when they come up. So you're going to see a lot more guys that are coming up as 24 and 25 versus 21 and 22. And I don't know if that's good. I do think a more experienced player is probably not a bad thing. However, if a guy's ready to go, a guy's ready to go. Like if he's like Andrew Jones and can play Major League Baseball at 19, then maybe you should just let him. Um, so I certainly see that side of it. Michael, MLB is more reasonable, and the MLB BPA will hate it without reading it. Well, yeah, MLB BPA is going to hate anything that comes out. They've had nothing constructive to say about any proposal. They've just basically said, we hate it, we hate it, we hate it. It's terrible, awful, to everything. And I feel like the responses are canned. They just like a proposal comes out and they just send it. Like, don't even read it. Don't need to. We're just not going to like it. Still looks the players need to look at what they like and work off of that instead of attacking what they don't like. I totally agree. I wish the players had some constructive feedback or could at least say like, well, we don't agree with this, but we do agree with that. But they disagree with everything. There's nothing productive or constructive about their feedback. It's just, we hate it. It's terrible. But they don't offer anything back. There's no like, but we could live with this, or it's just, we don't like it. John Carr, international signings. I think they're moving the age of international signings up. I think it went from 16 to 18 because I feel like these kids should not be kids when they sign. They should be, adults, at least in the eyes of our laws. So I'm pretty sure that was moving up from 16 to 18. Highlights. I love this. Bring the fans to the table as part of the negotiation process. I have heard better fan proposals than these. I agree. I think we could come up with a better proposal on this show, from this panel of experts we have right here in chat than we're going to see from either side. Now, I will say there's much of the MLB proposal I like and agree with. Very little of the player proposals I like and agree with. So, with that being said, like I don't hate what I'm seeing, but I agree with you. I think we come up with better. Oh, Carl, yeah, you see, yeah. So Ian Happ had a lot of feedback on this, and I think he had good feedback on. I also think he's towing the player line a little bit and trying to be a little more, I would say, hyperbolic or try to exaggerate a little bit. But I do think there's player development issues with that for sure. I don't disagree there. Silix, they're coming up later, and the players will never agree to restricted contracts. They won't agree to both, no matter what. Yeah, no, there's no way. Right now, they don't want to agree to any of this. But there are definitely some of these things that they would agree to, but not if something else was in place. And I do think a lot of those draft changes could just be thrown out. That literally could just be negotiation points where the MLB is like, oh, we'll give you that one, knowing they never really thought they'd get it anyways. John, I agree. This impending lockout is going to be 100% on the players. Yes, I think MLB's put together reasonable proposals that would be good starting points for negotiation. The players have shown they don't want to negotiate. They just want to piss and moan. And I think that is going to be the case. Chad, hold that thought. We're coming right back to it. It's all part of the charade. Well, I mean, you're not wrong, John. But so, all right, so let's jump ahead. That's the MLB proposal this week. Getting deep into contracts. Here's what MLBPA came back with. So, latest proposal from MLBPA is they want a joint lobbying effort with MLB to eliminate prop bets on individual players. Makes sense given the recent headlines. They also want to change the investigation process. They want more transparency to that because, as we all said, like we didn't know what was going on with Class A, and it seemed like it was in kind of behind closed doors for a long, long time. They want players to be put on administrative leave while investigating, so that way there's kind of a formal process to follow. They want the players to go on a 15-day unpaid rehab assignment before any suspension ends. So that way, when the suspension ends, they can come right back to Major League Baseball. So they get a 15-day period to rehab and get ready. They don't get paid. It's still part of their suspension. But that way they're not coming back and then starting the rehab assignment. And then their 40-game suspension becomes 55 games because they got to go down and do a rehab assignment. They want the rehab assignment inside the suspension period, but still unpaid. And they're asking MLB to clarify endorsements and sponsorships for players as it relates to these various betting houses. Because the way it's written now, it's, it doesn't necessarily say they can't. It's kind of saying they shouldn't, and it would be preferred that they would avoid. But it doesn't say it in black and white. MLBPA wants it to say it in black and white. So, I guess I think this is a great thing. I think both sides would easily agree to this. But again, like it doesn't get into any of the meat of what we're talking about this whole negotiation, which is contracts, salary cap, salary floor, deferred money. MLB comes out with all these contract terms. MLB comes out with we want to fix the gambling problem. Awesome. Like love that for baseball. Let's fix this. But what about the 27 other issues that we're still not talking about that are just continuing to linger? Like when do we deal with those? When do we actually get into the big stuff? But I agree with this. This should be taken care of. Yeah, highlights says I have no problem with any of these. Totally agree. I'm fine with them. This all makes sense. Go for it. Green light, go. But we still haven't solved anything else. Stilix is with me. I agree with this, but it isn't addressing the elephant in the room with next year. 100%. It's not moving us forward. It's this to me feels like a softball. MLBPA comes through a softball. And I'm like, oh, fans will like this one. Let's throw this out there. Let's ignore all the other stuff we've poo-pooed, but we'll throw this one out there to earn some brownie points. Tommy, what are your thoughts? I mean, I think the MLB proposal is good and workable if the Players Association is willing to work from it. I think this MLBPA proposal makes way too much sense to not do it. I think if MLB said no to this, I think we'd all kind of go, wait, what? Like, how could you not agree with this? And what I didn't mention is under all this, the language from MLBPA was, they want to limit the harassment players receive because of individual prop bets, which I think makes sense. We all hear the stories about the guys that get the phone calls and letters from pissed off gamblers, um, because the prop bet didn't pay out because something happened. Like, I get it. I totally get it. I wouldn't want players being harassed either. I don't think anybody would argue with that. So I think this one to me is just such a slam dunk that yes, let's do it. But but can we also go back to all the other important stuff we're not talking about? Uh, John, I will die on this hill. When it comes to gambling, they crucified Pete Rose but played dumb like a bunch of little kids for Ohtani. I will die on this hill saying that there's more to the Ohtani story that MLB buried because it was inconvenient to have the biggest name get caught up in something like that. So, yes, I'm with you. Sox just walked off on the Yankees for the Yankees to lose 4 straight to the Red Sox, who are an absolute like 5-alarm dumpster fire, is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Curtis, I'm so sorry, man. Like, you should be mad. I mean, the Yankees should have at least taken 2 out of the 4. They probably should be able to sleepwalk to take 3 out of 4. This Red Sox team is terrible. But wow. Highlights, like Harrison said, many of these proposals on both sides are more to attract fan support. Yeah, you're right there with me. Highlights. A lot of this is just PR more than anything. You're battling right now in the court of public opinion because the negotiations are going to happen behind closed doors and nobody gets points for that. So you put these out there to get fan support, to go behind closed doors, then negotiate for what you really want, which probably isn't even some of the stuff they're talking about. So what I'd love to do is when we actually do get a new CBA in 2032 and they solve this all, I'd love to compare the proposals they gave out and the actual final landing place to find out how close we ended up, because my guess is there'll be a massive gap. Tom, my thoughts on this as a whole. I think there's going to be no baseball in 2027. I think the MLB owners have provided very reasonable and workable solutions. The Players Association has basically thrown a temper tantrum and just basically said, no, we hate it to everything, but they don't have any other ideas or proposals of their own. And now they're distracting us with stuff like this that obviously we like. It's so much of this, like Highlights is saying, is about PR. Yeah, John, you're right. You lose Ohtani, you lose Japan. You lose Ohtani, you probably lose 5% of your revenue across the entire league. Like, I think he's that big. Chad Edwards, does MLB actually have control on what betting sites have available? Yes. So they have to have deals. I'll get to that in a second. Without some sort of kind of licensing partnership agreement, you can't trade or you can't take bets under the names of the leagues and all that. So yeah, there's a lot to it, and there is a fair amount of control for MLB on this. John Carter, it's posturing and negotiation 101. Got to throw stuff out there that is either easy to accept or they don't mind getting rid of it as a concession. Yeah. Half a negotiation is you ask for stuff you never wanted, knowing you can throw it out, and then the other side feels like they won. The other half of it is also just finding easy, simple ways to anchor and gain trust. And that's a lot of what this is. But more than anything, it's public opinion right now. How did MLB stop the FBI from finding stuff on Ohtani, though? I don't think the MLB did stop them. I just don't think the MLB necessarily helped them either. And I think Ohtani was very smart in how he covered it up. I think that Ohtani had the perfect fall guy because, when they're talking about the phone calls, you can't tell the difference between him and Ippei on the phone. Could have been either one of them. And then the idea that he had no knowledge of Ippei taking $20 million, whatever it was, just there's no way anybody can look at him with a straight face and think that's true. Let's see. Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it. He's the face of baseball. Yeah. Yes. Ohtani, you don't, no matter what you do, you never slaughter the golden goose. You do everything you can to protect that. And right now, Otani is the golden goose, and you put him on a pedestal, you put him in bubble wrap, you put him behind whatever you got to do to protect him, because you just can't let the meal ticket go down. So I think we all feel the same way about where we're at in here. But more importantly, I had to love the fact this news came out right on the heels of all this. Is MLB literally just renewed its partnership with MGM, the MGM Resorts and Bet MGM. So MGM is the official betting partner of MLB, and they renewed this partnership with MGM like literally the day after that MLBPA proposal came out, which was hilarious timing. But more importantly, inside of all that press release information, did you know, because I did not, did you know that MGM also has partnerships directly with many teams? So in addition to being the official partner of MLB, they have additional partnerships directly with the Red Sox, the Reds, the Tigers, the Astros, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Pirates, and the Nationals. So MGM has the overall MLB partnership, but they've also got a partnership with all these teams. That was at nine teams. So MGM is not only in bed with the league, it's actually getting into bed with all the teams individually to kind of wrap all this gambling into one nice little pretty package. And the timing of this couldn't be any worse for MLB to literally renew that partnership the same week as the MLBPA comes out and attacks prop bets with their proposal, which again, I think we all agree with the MLBPA. What they're doing is right. And, prop bets are just one segment of the gambling, but the timing of this could not be any weirder to renew this partnership right as they went after it. So, MLBPA, give us our money. Owners, beggars can't be choosers. MLBPA, F you owners. Sure, keep thinking that way. Fans, F you both. That might be where this goes. Might be where this goes. Chad, there's no way the MLBPA didn't know this was coming. And that's why I think the timing of it is so funny. So either MLB got caught off guard with the fact that MLBPA attacked this timing wise, or they just said, well, we're going to let it play out because, not all betting is bad betting. And we all agree the individual prop bets are bad, but we're not going to let all this money go to waste. So let's go. Giddy up. Tommy, so you're asking about a prop bet. So prop bets are, so what they're talking about is individual prop bet. So that's betting on, a particular guy to do a particular thing at a particular time. So, what we saw with Class A was people were betting on whether or not he's going to throw a first pitch strike or not. So when he came into the game, would he throw a first pitch strike or a ball? People were betting on that. That's a prop bet. It'd be like betting on a guy to get a hit in the 8th inning, or a guy to hit a home run in the 9th inning, or a guy to drive in the game-winning RBI. Like, you're betting on people to do very specific things at very specific points in time. And that's what makes them kind of prop bets. They're kind of like side bets because you're not betting on the outcome of the game or the outcome of his entire game. You're just betting on that one particular moment. So they become like kind of side bets or prop bets. So that may or may not have been a good explanation. That's kind of the easiest way for me to break it down. I am not a gambler. So, I mean, have I placed some bets? Sure. But it's not, it's not in my wheelhouse. Yeah, there, John Carter's got a better explanation. Proposition bets are things you can bet on that pop up organically during game situations. Exactly. So you're betting on certain things to happen at certain times, based on certain situations. They can, and the problem is they're the ones that people tend to bet on spur of the moment. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. It kind of pops up. You either take it or you don't. And that can be tough because, sometimes it's just a rash decision you're making, and you got to live with the results. Isn't a guy just hitting a homer a prop bet, or is that different? You mean just like hitting a homer an anytime home run in the game? That would not technically be a prop bet, because a prop bet is more about situation than just kind of the overall outcome of the game. So MLBPA wants them to eliminate individual prop bets. So you can bet on a team to score a run in the 8th inning, but you can't bet on a guy to get a hit. They don't want the prop bets to focus on individual doing something. They want them to focus on, you can still do a prop bet in the sense of like a team prop bet. So like the team will get 2 strikeouts in the inning. The team will score a run in that inning. Somebody will hit a home run, but they don't want it to be a particular person tied to the bet. So Yeah, John Temple, like the videos of the guys betting 15K a game if Angel Reese will miss her first shot. Those are hilarious. They won 15 in a row last year. That was I those were funny. Those were funny and so bad. But anyway, so yeah, so MLB is going to get its gambling money. Again, I don't mind MLB getting its gambling money. I just wish MLB would be a little more, kind of transparent with the whole gambling thing. And also get realistic with the fact that you can't keep inviting gambling deeper and deeper into the game and then be mad when players get involved in it. So, anyways, all right, moving on. Let's take a quick mid-season pulse check here. So I got the standings up, and I'm just going to give you guys my quick thoughts. Please share your thoughts in the chat on what you think. But we're literally most teams are playing game 81 today. These are standings as of this morning, so the teams hadn't played yet, aren't here. But it literally, we're exactly at the midpoint of the season, and I'm just going to run down each division and just give you my rough thoughts. Would love to hear what you guys think. So, starting with the AL East, I think the New York Yankees are absolutely the best team in that division. I think the Tampa Bay Rays will hang around. The Orioles apparently are saying they're going to be buyers at the deadline. If that's the case, they may have some life. Only 2.5 games out of the wild card. Blue Jays got to get healthy. If they get healthy, they're a threat. If they don't, they won't be. And the Boston Red Sox are nope. Red Sox should be sellers. They should move on. AL Central, I think it's going to be the White Sox and Guardians kind of down the stretch. The Twins are already starting to fade. That's kind of where I thought they'd be. The Tigers need to start selling. Kansas City Royals need to just play it out. Protect Bobby Witt, play it out. Start thinking about next year. AL West, I think the Seattle Mariners win that division. I think the Rangers are going to hang around. I think if the Astros get healthy or if the Astros are buyers at the deadline, I think they could be a problem for the Mariners. I don't have a lot of faith in the Mariners. Sorry, John. I don't have a lot of faith in the Mariners. I do think they can win that division, but if the Astros get healthy or the Astros make moves, the Mariners are in trouble fast. Athletics, again, very entertaining team, not a playoff team yet. Angels, it's time to really start to think about what you're doing in the future. You can't just continue to sit pat and ride this thing out. You got to start to make some moves and figure it out, but they're not any kind of threat this year. NL East, I picked the Braves to win it. I'm still picking the Braves to win it. I think the Phillies are going to ride right behind them for most of the rest of the season. The Marlins, who I had said, I think Nick agreed with me in the offseason, the Marlins could surprise us and make the playoffs. I think the Marlins are going to be right there all year. I think they're going to be hanging on and trying to make a run for it. Nationals, I think they are who they are, 500-ish ball club. The Mets are going to Met. I'm not worried about them. There's no world in which the Mets become somebody to worry about. In the Central, it's the Brewers. Every time I think the Brewers aren't going to make it, they do. The Cubs, they're so Jekyll and Hyde. I don't think they can catch the Brewers. This is a team that wins 10 in a row, loses 10 in a row like it's normal. So yeah, I think the Cubs are a playoff team, but they're not a threat to the Central. I think the Cardinals, kind of like the Marlins, are going to hang around all year. I could see one of the Marlins or Cardinals stealing a playoff spot. I think it's going to come down to the two of them kind of battling it out. The Pirates, I think, are just short of being there. And I think the Reds are in the same boat. I think the Pirates and Reds are going to miss the playoffs by a few, kind of where they are now, just going to ride that out to the end. Dodgers are the Dodgers. The West is done. The Padres, probably a playoff team. Diamondbacks, no. Giants, obviously not. Rockies, obviously not. So to me, it's like your division winners. It's going to be the Yankees, the Guardians. It should be the Mariners, could be the Astros. In the NL, my division winners are Braves, Brewers, Dodgers as they sit now. I think that the teams that are on the bubble, the Twins aren't going to make moves. They're not going to come back. The Red Sox should not make moves to try to fight their way back. If the Orioles are buyers, they could be a problem. If the Blue Jays get healthy, they could be a problem. Otherwise, the American League is kind of largely what it's going to be. Also terrible. And the NL, it's, Braves, Phillies in the East, Marlins trying to hang on, Brewers, Cubs in the Central, Cardinals trying to hang on, Dodgers in the West, and the Padres sneaking in. So from what I had expected in the offseason, I don't think there's any huge changes here. I I did not have the Rays as high as they were. I had the Red Sox and Rays kind of switching places. I had the Orioles. I really thought this was going to be the Blue Jays division, Yankees and Red Sox battling for second, Rays behind them, and Orioles still trying to figure it out. So that's the one I think I missed worse than anything. But I I think we kind of know who team. I think we have a good sense of who teams are at this point. I think that it's just a matter now of who's out there that's going to make a splash at the trade deadline. What team is going to make the move we didn't expect, or which team is going to be really aggressive that we weren't counting on to really tip the scales. But after 81 games, or after 80 games, we got a pretty good sense of who these teams are and what we're going to get. I will say I did not see a world where the White Sox were leading the AL Central at the end of June. Yeah, Curtis, Philly's a playoff team. Wild. Totally agree. Philly's going to make the playoffs. I don't see them catching the Braves. The National League is super competitive. The American League is terrible. It's bad. American League is terrible. I mean, Tom, my thoughts on the Phillies turnaround is that I think that was a team that, when they asked Rob Thompson how the team was doing, he kind of said he didn't know. I think that's a team that was too good to be playing as poorly as they were. I also don't think I think this is a team that's going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs because I don't think they're that good, but they were too good to not at least be a playoff team. And I think Don Mattingly came in kind of a breath of fresh air, just letting the guys play. And I think that's the biggest thing is they just don't seem so tight. Like they're out there, they're playing. You've seen Schwarber and Harper have a couple of good stretches here. But they're they're smiling. It seems like the whole vibe around that team has changed. That's probably what they needed. So Silix, would you rather see Adames or Abrams come? Because I'm kind of tossed up on those guys. I really like Adames. I really like Abrams. They both have flaws. I don't know which one is better. Which would you take? Which one would you rather have? I mean, I can make a case for either one of them. Yeah, this is wild, Tommy. The Phillies are the first team in MLB history to be 10 games under 500 in April, be 10 games over 500 any point prior to the end of June. Yeah, they got off to a terrible start. Yeah, crazy guy Padres. I think they're going to end up being a playoff team. Tough. I mean, hard to believe given all the changes they've had, but they're still hanging on. Yeah, and so like the Phillies pitching is good. Like they do have good pitching, and that's really helped them because their offense has been pretty awful at times. But that's now the offense is waking up. I think that's what's changed everything is that offense went from really bad to pretty good quickly, and the pitching hasn't dropped. They've continued to pitch well. That's the one thing. Like if you can pitch well and stay in games, you can give your offense the breathing room it needs to rebound. But if you can't pitch, your offense can't out hit bad pitching night after night. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, Mike Reed, the Adames trade, any Adames trade is going to be dependent on the contract and how much they can take. I totally agree. And Silix, yeah, I think either they would both be big improvements. I kind of like Abrams because he's, I think he's got more upside. But Adames would not be a bad option. So, but yeah, so I think that's midseason pulse check. I think these standings are probably pretty good reflection of where things are going to end up. We'll see. All right, let's get into some discussion topics. Let's see what you guys all think. So I think I got a fun little mix here, some fun ones to get into. So let's get going. Discussion topic number one. Which team is most likely to make a desperate or reckless trade? So which GM, which team is most likely to go out there and make some sort of really crazy trade? I now know exactly who I think it would be. And that's why this ballpark's in the background, but I would love to hear what you guys think in terms of who is that GM or who is that team that's going to make that weird trade. The Mariners for sure. You think it's going to be the Mariners, John? They usually seem pretty conservative to me, but Silix is going Mets. I mean, They have a lot of reasons too. Tommy, Orioles. I would love to see the Orioles go and make a big splash. Mike Reed thinks the Mets too. Cran, have you met the Mets? Yeah, Michael, have you met the Mets? Yeah. So crazy guy. So I've got Petco Park in the background here because I fully expect at every trade deadline that AJ Preller is going to make that insane trade that we all just go, wait, what? Like last year when he traded off like the entire farm system to try to make that, to try to take the low odds they had to get to the playoffs and force the issue. He traded away, basically the future for that run. They didn't make it. But like I fully expect every year AJ Preller is going to make some crazy trade that makes us all go, wait, are you serious? Because it just seems to be his MO. He just seems to he makes the huge splash or the crazy like desperation trade to get back into the race, or you know trade picks up a bad contract, or it just seems like that's AJ's MO. The Cubs, they'll trade for someone like David Peterson. Yeah, the Mets couldn't wait. The Mets were just dumping pieces at that point. Mets have a lot of reasons to do so. I just don't think they will. Yeah, I don't. I mean, are the Mets going to be sellers? Like, who are you selling? Nobody's coming to take Bichette off your hands. Nobody's coming to take Semien off your hands. Like, who are you going to trade? It just doesn't make any sense. Orioles or Padres, Carl, I tend to agree. I'd love to see the Orioles be out there and do something crazy. Silex Brewers need to. I mean, I'd love to see the Brewers. I'd love to see the Brewers load up and really give the Dodgers a run. Because if the Brewers don't, I mean, the Braves will. I mean, the Braves will definitely give them a run. But I mean, who else really could challenge them? I don't see it. Greg, yes, we can see all your messages in chat. John, from either standpoint, buying or selling, who's going to make that desperate or reckless trade from either direction? Just would love to hear what you guys think. Who is that team you could see just do something crazy? I like this segment. You ask us questions and we answer. This is fun. This is where the baseball people just like to come out and chat. Like it's the kind of crazy stuff you'd throw to like a buddy of yours where you're sitting there on the couch watching the game. You just throw the crazy question out and see what happens. Does Preller have any future to try to get Scooble? I don't know if they've got anything left to go get Scooble. I mean, DeVries went last year and he's tearing the minor leagues apart for the A's. I want to say they traded, was it like 10 or 8 of their top 15 or something crazy? Like they traded so much of their top end minor league talent last year. I'm sure they still got pieces. The question is, do they have enough to get Scooble? I don't know. I have to believe the Dodgers are gonna offer a haul because they've got the best minor league system in baseball. And when you look at their roster, there's no spots opening anytime soon. These young guys have no path, so like you're gonna have to trade them. Tommy, where's Nick tonight? Nick is actually in Milwaukee. He's at the Brewers game today, and then enjoying some time off. So he was in Minnesota yesterday at the Twins game with a couple of followers, and then in Milwaukee today. So he's out seeing more ballparks and taking a much deserved break. Silix, every time the Brewers make a head scratching trade, it works for them somehow. It really does. The Brewers are. I don't know. I'm not sure how to describe them. Every time I think they're out, they're not. Every time I think the move they made makes no sense, it does. Quinn Priester, okay. Kyle Harrison, okay. I'm not sure. There's either something in the water, something with their inside of that building, something with the staff. I don't know, man. I can't figure it out. It's the water. All leadership in Cali is crazy. I don't disagree. Chad, I agree. I said this in the last show. I think the Astros are gonna be buyers, and they still believe they're in it. Hunter Brown coming back. The offense is finally turning things around. I think the Astros think they're in it, and I think they're going to be buyers. And if they make a couple of moves, it could be a different story. Mike Reed, I would love to see the Brewers trade back for Peralta and then have him go there and be an ace again, because he's been terrible with the Mets. And it would be so funny to watch him go back and be good. Yeah, crazy guy. He does it every year as a Padres fan. It sucks. Now you're probably going to try to get Scooble and ruin our farm system. Yeah, So I'd be curious. I'm actually shocked Preller's still there. I thought after last year they're going to cut him loose after he traded the future for this. I wouldn't be shocked if the new ownership group comes in and moves him out. But I'd be curious your thoughts. Like from a fan perspective, are you done with AJ Preller? Is that experiment kind of run its course? You got these big bad contracts you can't get rid of. You got a farm system that's been gutted. Like, what's the overall feeling out there? Are you guys just tired of this guy? Phillies in the outfield help in the worst way. Yes, they do. I think Detroit blows it up. I think you're right, John. Why wouldn't they? The Padres need hitting, period. All those big contracts and nobody can hit. It's wild. Silks, you're right. Dodgers do struggle with the Phillies pitching staff. The Phillies pitching staff has been good against them. The problem is the Phillies can't hit the Dodgers pitching staff either. So they end up losing anyways. Phillies desperately need outfield help. Yes, they do. They've needed outfield help ever since Pat Burrell left. Pat the Bat. I mean, that's going back a ways. I wouldn't put it past the Brewers to make a move for Skubal. He's just too expensive. His arbitration settlement was $32 million. I don't think they've got the ability to take on the second half of that deal. Astros trade for Framber Valdez. Their catchers right now are saying, no, don't do it. Pittsburgh open to trading Jared Jones. Interesting. That would be something. He would definitely get a return. Luis Castillo on the block for the Mariners. Yeah, that it's his contract is nearing the end. He's expensive. Rob Refsnyder. I mean, when the Mariners signed Refsnyder as a Red Sox fan, I thought he was such a great addition because he's so good in that pinch hitter, left-handed specialist role, but he's been terrible for you guys. I thought that was going to end up being a good move for them. San Diego last in batting average also. Yeah, San Diego's awful all around. Interesting East Coast. You don't think Skubal gets traded? I mean, if the Tigers don't trade him and let him go to free agency, I mean, I feel like that's malpractice. Like the fans have the right to riot if they get nothing for him. And we saw it with the Red Sox. We kept screaming, trade Bogaerts, you're not going to sign him. And then they played out the season with him and he walked away for free. Like, you got to get something for him. So I feel like we're a little bit all over the place in this one, but I do think the one common theme that kept coming up was Phillies need outfield help. The Tigers need to tear it down. And we all think that the Padres are a pretty good candidate to do something crazy. So yeah, that works. Tommy, I'm always going to be a Red Sox fan. Whether they're good or bad. And I'm also a kind of a critical Red Sox fan, so I'm not afraid to also say they're terrible. So yeah, I mean, I'll always be a fan whether they're good or not. But what I will say is I'm a baseball fan more than anything. So when the Red Sox aren't good, I'm very happy to just watch other teams. Like, I just like to watch good baseball. And if it's not my team, I'm happy to watch somebody else's. Scubal's gone. They already have a locker from in LA. I'm sure they do, and a suite already booked for the second half of the season for him. So yeah. Anyways. All right. Moving on. Next one. So if the season ended today, a team under 500 would make the playoffs in the American League. Is that good for baseball? So we've seen in the NFL under 500 teams have made the playoffs, and I think that's more of a reflection of the competitive nature of football. But baseball, an under 500 team making the playoffs, would we see that as competitive parity or just a really bad season all across it for the American League in particular? So I'm just curious, what do you guys think? Do you think an under 500 team making the playoffs is good or bad? Yeah, Nick's 100% right. Because of course Nick's back, so he can't help himself. We're fans, but we don't have to watch them. So I'm happy to watch other teams. Just like Nick is. I think it's because teams either won't be able to afford him or the Tigers don't think they are getting enough for him. That's fair. I mean, Skubal's not the easiest guy to trade. That's a big contract to move and a lot of money to absorb. So yeah, I mean, but I think for a team in contention, he's an attractive target, but my guess is the Tigers are going to ask for everything possible. Nick and Harris are not typical Red Sox fans. They have a level head. Yeah, we're not the people that just, we're not Yankees fans. Sorry, Curtis. Crazy guy. I've been down with him since 2023. Okay, he made the playoffs 4 times out of the 10 years he's been here. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's kind of run its course. I feel like it might be time for all of them to move on. All right. So Tommy says no, not good for baseball. John Carter, no, not good for baseball. Carl, I hate it. It's bad for baseball. I mean, okay, I'm with you. I don't like it. Tommy, no, not good. It's happened before every other sport before. Silix, you're right. This is not. I mean, we see it in other sports, just typically not in baseball because we didn't have expanded playoffs for a long time, so it really wasn't possible in terms of based on the math. You've got to have so many winning teams. You were bound. You had to have a winning team just based on the way the math worked. But then you expanded the playoffs, and so now more teams qualify. So you're able to pull in a couple teams that wouldn't have made it otherwise. So lesser record, but also now when you move to this balanced play model, this balanced schedule model, where now you got a lot of National League, American League crossover, kind of the math on that's been thrown out the window because it's not like you're trading wins and losses within your own league. You're trading wins and losses across the whole league. And that's what we're seeing this year. The National League is killing the American League. And that's why the American League is so bad. Happened to the sport before. Nick, wife is in bed. So coming out to play. Is it really any different than the Cards winning the division that year? They went 83 and 79. And that's, Mike, this is a great question because this was actually one of the counterpoints to this I saw somewhere was what's the difference between a team that's, what is it, 81 and what was it? The 80 and 82 making the playoffs versus a team that's like, 83 and 79. Like, is there really a huge difference between really those couple of games? And is it, is an 82 or 83 win team really playoff deserving either? And I think that gets into a much kind of bigger argument about, what is the expectation for wins? If you want parity in baseball, you're going to have to see the top teams come down a little bit, the bottom teams come up, and you're going to start to have more teams around that kind of 500 mark, mid 80s wins make the playoffs. Totally fine. But you're also introducing a chance for under 500 teams to qualify with expanded playoffs. I don't think it's the worst thing for baseball, but I don't love the idea of a team that couldn't actually get a winning record in the regular season go to the playoffs. Like it just bothers me. Not saying it's a bad thing, not saying it might not become more normal in the future, but I just don't like it. Not really 90% of the time they get cooked in the wild card. Highlights divisions won't mean anything after expansion. Maybe you just stick them as two leagues. No sub 500 teams will make it. And that's 100% right. I think how you realign baseball after expansion could also change this completely. Where you could either have more teams like this that make it, depending on how you realign, or less. It just, kind of is what it is. As Michael says, is what it is. And we made the playoff format and allowed this as a possibility. Yes. When you allow more teams, you are going to get some lesser teams in there. And when you have this balanced schedule and you've got the trading of wins and losses between leagues, you could have a situation where you've got teams under 500 that make it. You completely change the math in how that schedule works and how the wins and losses can come out. And that's one of the side effects of it is if one league stronger than the other, you could have, as we're seeing this year, one league be far, far superior. 162 games below 500 making the playoffs is wild. It really kind of is. It just seems wild to me. Yeah, and this is a fair point, East Coast. If only 1 year, it would be a good thing. If it really showed that baseball isn't a buy to win sport. Yeah, and there's definitely an argument to be made for that. You've got the Mets, who have one of the highest payrolls in baseball. They're a disaster. And you've got other teams that are fighting their way in with records at 500 or just below. Like, yeah, there's definitely two sides to this. Parity means 500 or under teams can make it to the playoffs. Yes, Mike Reed, you're totally right. Yeah, when you get to parity, you're going to have a lot more teams in that. You're going to pull the whole league closer to 500, and that's really what you want to do. Is you want to pull more teams closer together, so more teams are in it, and this could happen in that situation. For me, it could be a good thing as long as they dethrone the Dodgers somehow. Yeah, as long as whoever makes the playoffs can beat the Dodgers, I don't care. They can have one win all year, but if they beat the Dodgers, that's all I care about. Yeah, Mike Reed, this is totally right. If MLB wants to limit the likelihood of an under 500 team making it, they need to limit the interleague games, limit the number of divisions in each league. Totally right. if you have one side stronger than the other and you're playing each other equally, you're going to have the pendulum swing like we're seeing this year. That's just going to happen. I like the way baseball does divisions now. I don't want them to change it. I mean, that's a fair point, Tommy. I don't mind the divisions. There's definitely things they could do a little bit better within that, but the overall structure works. Yeah, parities of team wins a division at 500, not the eighth best team still being under and still making it. Also fair. Yeah, if you got a division winner close to 500, like we had that Cardinals team, yeah, that's much closer to parity. So, all right. So I think that interestingly enough, I think for the most part, I think we're all kind of saying it's not great, but it's really also it's not necessarily a problem. You know, we're gonna with expanded playoffs and the balanced schedule. Yeah, you're gonna have this. That's just kind of how it's gonna work, and that's okay. So I can get behind that. All right, let's jump on to the next one. All right, so now that we're halfway through the season, who is your pick to win the World Series? So, are the Dodgers still the overwhelming favorite? Do you like the Braves now? Do you think the Yankees could do it? Is there another team that you think can make a run? Like, if you were sitting here right now looking across baseball, like, who are you picking to win the World Series? Because I think my pick may have changed. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. So, who are you taking? Who's got the best odds? Yeah, Carl. You're not wrong. Dodgers no proven otherwise. I mean, it's a fair point. It's hard. It's hard to say it's not the Dodgers. Yeah, John Carter. I think it's the Dodgers versus the field, and that was my pick going into the season. It's kind of the Dodgers versus the world, and until somebody takes the Dodgers down, it's the Dodgers. Mike Reed outside Dodgers. I say Braves. I like the Braves a lot. I think the Braves are a legit World Series contender. They have the offense and the pitching, and they catch the ball. They're the one team I think that could really be a problem for the Dodgers. Silix, I don't need to answer. John Temple, right now, Dodgers, but my God, if the Mariners get to hitting them, we are a huge problem. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the Mariners had some offense, we said that for what, 3 years now? And finally last year they made some trades at the deadline to make it happen. But if the Mariners had offense, that's a scary team. That pitching staff is so good. Tommy, Phillies being a homer, but realistically the Dodgers. Yeah. Okay. Braves, because I can't not pick them for obvious reasons. We know, Michael, you're a Braves fan, but at the same time, like you've got a reason to pick them. I mean, I might be picking the Braves right now. I think they are the most well-rounded team. The Dodgers have had issues with the offense at times, the pitching at times. Their bullpen's been a little shaky. Like the Dodgers aren't perfect. The Braves have a lot of things to be fearful of if you're the Dodgers. Yeah, Braves are the best shot for a team not named the Dodgers. Agreed, Chad. Totally agree. Curtis, in my heart, it's the Yankees head Dodgers. I mean, fair. I mean, logic still says it's the Dodgers World Series to lose. But I do think the Yankees could be a problem for them. I do think the Braves could be a problem for them. At the right time, the Phillies could be a problem for them, but it's just never, ever been the right time for the Phillies. But they could be. If the Phillies make a big trade at the deadline, they have a good chance of probably the Dodgers. Yeah, I agree with the East Coast. I mean, if the Phillies can fill a couple of the holes they've got, yeah, I think they could be a problem. They do have a lot of pieces, to work with, and that pitching is good. And pitching, when you get into October, is what matters the most. Yeah, John Temple, Braves are good. Tommy, I think the Phillies can still take the division. We can go. They were 10 games on the Braves. Now we're only 3 back. Yeah, the Phillies have been playing really well lately. The Phillies are not to be taken lightly. They could be a problem. Yeah, and John, just get in the playoffs. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, especially in the American League. If you're in the American League, just make the playoffs and take your chances, because it's not other than the Yankees. There's nobody in the American League I look at and go, man, like that's a pretty complete team. They've all got problems. Nick says the Brewers somehow get Scoobs, and you have Miz and Scooble back to back in the playoffs. Brewers could, and I mean could, challenge them. I mean, if you can run Miz and Scooble out game 1 and game 2, that's gonna be a 1-2 punch that's hard to beat. John Temple, I don't trust anyone. Fair, and you probably shouldn't. Carl, maybe the Cubs can yo-yo to being really good come October after 5-22 September. That that is the one thing with the Cubs. That is a team that when they are hot, they are unbeatable. When they are not, they are terrible. If they get hot at the right time, yeah, they could be a problem. But you're counting on a lot of timing working out for you. I think the best shot a team has is knocking the Dodgers out in the best of 5 series. Yes, I agree. You got to get to them early. The Padres had the chance 2 years ago and they couldn't do it. They had them on the ropes, 2-1, and then couldn't close it. But you gotta, you can. The Dodgers are definitely gettable, but you got to get to them early. You got to get to them quick. If you let them settle in, they just start rolling, and then it's a problem. Phillies won't because they have the ring repellent named Harper. Christopher Sanchez for Cy Young. He's my favorite at the moment. Although, might be Miz now. My fear is the Phillies will do what they always do and collapse in October. Tommy, I would feel so much better about the Phillies if not for the track record. Now, I do think Don Mattingly brings something different to that team, and maybe a more kind of leveled approach will help them. But for whatever reason in October, they just tense up and can't do it. Greg, the Dodgers don't get Schoolbell right and sing a theme song for rounding third, complete with interpretive dance. I can't wait for that. Now I really hope they don't get him. Yeah, Michael, we're going to hold you to that. I like that. I think that'd have to be the matchup for the Brewers in that 5-game set against the Dodgers. Yeah, I think if the Brewers could get them in a 5-game set, it would be a way better matchup than 7. Because if you let the Dodgers really utilize all of their depth, then you can get in trouble fast. John Temple, Brewers out in the first round again. I mean, yeah, I hate that that's their track record, but it is. So got to live with it. All right, so we got a lot of I like this, Carl. If not the Cubs, at least obviously the Phillies won a championship for Mattingly. That guy deserves a ring. Yes, he does. He deserves a lot of things, a ring for sure. But I think we're all kind of thinking the same way. It's really the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers World Series to lose, but there's definitely the Braves could be a real challenger, the Brewers could be a real challenger, Yankees, Phillies. But other than that, you've only got a few teams that really have a shot to potentially dethrone the Dodgers, and that's really the feeling. Yeah. How can I hate the Dodgers more? Oh, Scott, it's so true. But all right, let's move on. Last one. And this is kind of getting back into the sub 500 playoff team, but this is a different angle on that, which is, has the expanded playoffs ruined the trade deadline? I was reading an article the other day where there's a lot of teams that are kind of saying, yeah, we might be buyers, we might be sellers, we're not really sure yet. We may stand pat. They got teams like the Astros that believe they're still in it, which I think it's a combination of the expanded playoffs giving more opportunities, but also the American League being weak that's leaving more teams in it. But you have a lot of teams right now. You only have a few teams in theory that are truly out of it. So my question is, is that the expanded playoffs? Has that ruined the trade deadline? Because the trade deadline used to be like a holiday. I mean, it was just every 15, 20 minutes. It was like, okay, who moved? What was the latest trade? And, you'd be blowing up with notifications that a trade went down. And, we used to see big names move at the trade deadline, and we really don't see that anymore. And it's kind of disappointing because the trade deadline really seems to be kind of a lost holiday for MLB because it used to be so big. So let's see what do we got here. And it sure has confused the deadline. That's a fair way to put it. Certainly not what it used to be. Silix, nope. Real winners will want to make a move. Agreed. I think that real winners will make a move. The problem is, can they find a trading partner, or are too many of them still in it? Tommy, yes, I think the expanded playoffs ruin the trade deadline. Carl, mediocre teams won't sell stars like in years past because of the expanded playoffs. Yeah, and that's seeming more and more true every year, where you just don't see the big moves anymore because teams are like, well, We're 5 games out of it, 6 games out of it. We could get hot. We could still be in it. Where in the past, they'd be further out and it'd be easier to say, like, there's no shot for us. Not really. It's made the last day chaotic. Yeah, I mean, it's still definitely chaotic. I think last year we had more action than we had in the previous couple of years, but it wasn't like big action. It was just like, a lot of like fringe plays, a lot of fringe players that moved. Mike Reed, expanded playoffs hurt the deadline. I also think the pending lockout is going to hurt this one even more. That's a fair point. I think teams are looking at next year as kind of a big question mark, and how many big decisions you want to make, not knowing what you're walking into. Tommy used to take off work that day and sit home and watch MLB Network all day long. I used to just keep refreshing, ESPN and MLB to see what the latest rumors were and what trades were going down. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Nick, it's hard for me to say ruined when there was so much movement last year. I couldn't keep up with it last year, but to your point, not many big names. Yeah. And I think last year was definitely the most kind of the greatest number of trades we've seen in a few years, but it was a lot of it was teams trading for depth, not like big time impact players. Curtis, I don't believe so. It just makes teams more strategic. That's a fair point. Maybe there's not as much just unloading or, making the big move because you can. You've got to be a little smarter with how you build the roster. The marginal teams won't sell off anymore. Yeah, I think that's true. I think teams are, holding out hope that they'll, have a good couple of weeks and be right back in it. But at the same time, if you are one of those teams and you do make the playoffs, is it really like a win to make the playoffs, or is it like, hey, we got here just to get our heads kicked in by somebody? Is that still viewed as a win? Tommy, I don't like the expanded playoffs. Yeah, I think there's good and bad to it. There's parts of it that I like. There's parts of it I don't like. I don't like the first round buys. I think that's terrible. Baseball was not meant to have a bye. This is a game that's based on kind of rhythm and consistency. It's not based on taking a break. John Temple got alerts on my phone. Da 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 da. Yeah, my phone used to drive me crazy with those. So I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. It's, yeah, we're still going to see trades. Teams are still going to find ways to improve. Maybe there's not as many big names that move. Maybe there's not as many opportunities to make an impact move, but you can at least go get some depth pieces, and in some cases that might be enough. That might be all you need. So, there's definitely a strategy to it. Yeah, Nick, if you don't like expanded playoffs now, Tommy, just wait for expansion. I mean, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with expansion. Yeah, and Michael, this is kind of the point I was getting at. Do you really want you to be the 2025 Reds, the sacrificial lamb of the Dodgers? I mean, the Reds snuck in there. Good for them, made the playoffs. They got immediately just destroyed. And it was like, well, what was that for? It's tough. Scott, in my opinion, too many teams make the playoffs in all the leagues. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the playoffs. I mean, you had the one extreme where MLB was literally American League winner, NL winner. You jumped to the World Series. There was no playoffs. That was too short. But now you do. You got a lot of teams that make the playoffs. And, do we see upsets? Yeah. Do we see a lot of them? Probably not. Probably not enough to justify it, but you do see some. So, all right. Well, this was good. I like the feedback. I think we're all thinking the same thing here. All right. So before we go, got some trivia tonight for you guys that hung on. We're 2 hours in, so you kept me company and kept me going for 2 hours. So I appreciate that. So we're going to do some top 5 stat leaders. So I'm going to give you the list of the top 5. Tonight it'll be hits in the National League. So top 5 all-time hits leaders per team. Going to leave one blank. I need you guys to tell me who it is. So let's see how we do. All right, first one. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Dodgers? You have Zach Wheat with 2,804, Pee Wee Reese with 2,170, Willie Davis with 2,091, Duke Snyder with 1,995, and this guy in 5th. Who is the number 5 hits leader all time for the Dodgers? John, I'm not patronizing you, John. I'm on your side, man. Always. Speaking of which, I never saw the video for graduation. How'd it go? Got some names coming in. We got Jackie, Eric Karros, Garvey, Bill Russell. Bill Russell. I will say the answer is in the chat, but it's probably not who you think it is. Give you guys another second to drop some more answers in there, and then we'll flip it here. Tommy, yeah, too many teams making the playoffs does diminish the value of the regular season. You're not wrong. Not wrong. It does, makes there's a little less pressure to perform well. You just need to perform good enough to get in. So, John, I was such an inspiration to my son. I graduated 15 seconds ahead of him. That's awesome. That's so cool, man. But all right, answer is Steve Garvey was number 5 with 1,968 hits. So all you guys that guessed Steve Garvey, Nick and Scott and Ed, you nailed it. Steve Garvey. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Padres? Got Tony Gwynn with 3,141. Gary Templeton with 1,135. Dave Winfield with 1,134. You have this guy in 4th, and then Gene Richards with 994 hits. Who is number 4 all-time hits leader for the Padres? Yeah, and congrats too, John. That's incredible. Glad we can keep you company. We did your homework all those nights. Not also Steve Garvey, Carl. Steve Finley is just off this list. That's a great guess, Michael. Yeah, not Steve Garvey again. Yeah, right, Nick? That gap between 1 and 2, I was like, this is wild. You go from almost 2,000 hits difference and then 1 between 2 and 3. Like 1 hit. That's crazy. Ken Kimnity, great one. Carl, my favorite player in baseball, Manny Machado. You had to call him my favorite, huh? Ouch. Ouch. I'll give you guys another couple of seconds, then we'll flip it. Caminiti just for me. I did love Ken Caminiti. I had his flame glove when I was in must have been Babe Ruth ball at that point, but maybe it was Little League. I don't know, but it was awesome. I was such a big Caminiti fan. Chase Headley, good guess. Nate Colbert, good guess. Adrian Gonzalez, good guess. So let's go ahead and move this along. So number 4 for the Padres is Manny Machado, already on that list with 1,072. Pretty sure he won't catch Tony Gwynn, but he's definitely going to catch Templeton and Winfield. And you're probably looking at the guy who is number 2 in all-time hits for the for the Padres in what, by next season, which could be 27 or 28, who knows. Yeah, Devers is definitely my favorite. Yes, you're right, Curtis. So Manny Machado, current player. So he'll definitely sit in the 2 seed here soon. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Rockies? Todd Helton, number 1 with 2,519. Charlie Blackmon with 1,805. Larry Walker with 1,361. This guy, number 4. And then Dante Bichette with 1,278. Who is the number 4 all-time hits leaders for the Rockies? I'm pretty sure he's caught a case of herpes. Who did? Devers? That'd be amazing. So we've got Tulo, we got Carlos Gonzalez, Cargo, another Tulo, another Cargo. Well, you guys really like Cargo, huh? So, our boy Terry Shumpert. Yes, Nick, throw that out there. Our boy Terry. He belongs on that list. Nolan's a great guess. Another couple seconds, and we'll flip it. Galarraga, Moyer, of course, got to get a Moyer in there. So yeah, so for the Rockies, number 4 is Carlos Gonzalez, 1,330 hits. So a lot of cargoes in the chat. Nice job. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Diamondbacks? You have Luis Gonzalez, number 1 at 1,337, followed by Paul Goldschmidt, 1,182. Ketel Marte, 1,179. You have this guy at number 4 and Steve Finley at 847. Who is the 4th all-time hits leader for the Diamondbacks? And look at that, Nick. Your boy Ketel Marte is going to be in the number 2 spot here, probably, next week, and probably gonna top Luis Gonzalez by next season. So your boy Ketel Marte is going to be on the he's going to be the number 1 guy here soon. Big Cat, Matt Williams, Nick's boy Perdomo, Womacker Williams, David Peralta. Oh, nice. We're kind of all over the place, and the guesses here. I like that. Give you guys a couple more seconds. Throw your answers out there. Let's go, Ketel Marte. Yes, Ketel Marte. That's our boy, Nick's boy. All right. Number 4 is David Peralta with 960 hits, a very underappreciated member of the Diamondbacks. Just good overall guy. Spent a lot of time there. But yeah, David Peralta, number 4. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Giants? Willie Mays, number 1 with 3,187. This guy, number 2. Bill Terry with 2,193. Willie McCovey with 1,974. And Barry Bonds with 1,951. Who is the 2nd all-time hit leader for the Giants? Oh, Drew's a good guess, Scott. Upton's not a bad guess. I feel like this one's gonna light up. You could tell one Marte drink up. I like it, Curtis. Nice, Nick. This ought to be Ott. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys the answer since you're all getting it. It is absolutely Mel Ott, 2,876. A guy that I honestly don't appreciate how many hits he had with the Giants. But that's a lot of hits. All right. Moving on. Let's go to the Central. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Pirates? Roberto Clemente at exactly 3,000. Honus Wagner, 2,967. This guy, number 3. Max Carey with 2,416. And Pie Traynor also with 2,416. Who is 3rd for all-time hits for the Pirates? Still looks with Matt Williams if the Duke could hit for more than half a year. Fair. Yeah, Matt Williams was a beast, but streaky. He's just hit those like long, lazy fly ball home runs. Oh, McCutcheon. That's a good answer. That's a good guess. We got Paul Waner. We got Kutch, Waner, Kutch. Stargell or Kiner. Waner. Kind of pretty consistent train here. So yeah, let's flip the answer. It is Paul Waner, 2,868 hits. Pretty tight there at the top. Not a lot of hits separating those guys. JT Snow, I like it, Silix. I love JT Snow. Darren Baker really appreciated him too. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Brewers? You had Robin Yount number 1 with 3,142. Paul Molitor at 2,281. This guy third. Cecil Cooper at 1,815 and Jim Gantner at 1,696. Who is third all time in hits for the Brewers? Robin Yount had a few hits. Oh, yeah, Nick, you're not kidding. Would have been Clemente's wife if Hurdle didn't get the 500 season. Yeah, that story that he shared with us was incredible. I mean, that whole Clint Hurdle interview was amazing. He was such an incredible guy to talk to. So knowledgeable in baseball, so much history, so many great stories. Could have talked to him for 8 hours. Would have loved to have just kept him there all day. Yeah, John, Bob Uecker, his one-liners were hit every day. You're not wrong. We got Braun, Ogilvy, Braun. Yeah, you guys are all thinking the same way. So, answer is Ryan Braun, 1,963. A lot of hits for Mr. Braun. Whether you are cool with that or not is up to you, but a lot of hits. All right. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Cubs? You had Cap Anson number 1 at 3,012. Ernie Banks with 2,583. Billy Williams with 2,510. Ryan Sandberg at 2,385. And this guy, number 5. Who's number 5 in all-time hits for the Cubs? Curtis, there's no way Clint Hurdle would want that Mets job. Why would anybody want that Mets job? When I saw Pujols wanted that Mets job, I about threw up. I was like, there's please anything but that. All right. Got some guesses coming in. We got Santo, Mark Grace. Today's his 62nd birthday. I had no idea. That's so cool. Happy birthday, Mark Grace. You want to come on the show and talk about it? We'd love to have you. Grace. We got Casey. Another vote for Mark Grace. Say, give you another couple seconds, then we'll flip it. I hope to God it's Grace, but not sure. I mean, Grace had a lot of hits. It's Def Grace, Ron Santo. So, yeah. So the answer is, it is Mark Grace, 2,201. Was it, Nick, was he the most hits in the 90s? Was that the stat? He had the most hits anybody in the 90s? Anyways. So, yeah. So, Mark Grace. All right. Still in the Central. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Cardinals? Stan Musial at 3,630. This guy, number 2. Yadier Molina, 2,168. Albert Pujols, 2,156. And Rogers Hornsby, 2,110. Who is second in all-time hits for the Cardinals? Yeah, okay, yes, it was. I thought so. That was such a cool stat. Show one Dunston. Yeah. Got guesses coming in. Can't be Ozzy, can it? I don't know, can it? You tell me, John. My parrot says Brock. All right. Well, you guys are all lighting this one up, so it is Lou Brock, 2,713. And I'll be honest with Lou Brock. When I think of Lou Brock, I think of the stolen bases. I don't ever think about how good a hitter he was. Like, you got to get on base to steal the bases. I always think about the stolen bases. I always forget about the hits. So the 27-13 for him, I was like, wow, that's a lot of hits. But all right. So yeah, Lou Brock, 2,713. Going to finish up here in the Central. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Reds? Pete Rose, 3,358. Barry Larkin, 2,340. Dave Concepcion, 2,326. Bid McPhee, 2,258. And this guy, number 5, who is 5th in all-time hits for the Reds. I left him off the Mount Rushmore and got roasted. I mean, Nick, you've gotten unfairly roasted for a lot of those Mount Rushmores that were kind of hard to even disagree with. And in some cases, you got roasted, and they didn't even have an alternate person to put there instead. They just didn't like yours. Let's see. Got to be Votto. Tony Perez, Votto. Bench or Morgan, your boy Votto, 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 Votto. Pretty consistent here with the guesses, guys. So go and show the answer. It is Joey Votto, 2,135. Love me some Joey Votto. Love Joey Votto. Just really hope he ends up back in baseball somehow. All right, moving on to the East. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Braves? Number 1, some guy by the name of Henry Aaron with 3,600. This guy, number 2. Eddie Matthews with 2,201. Fred Tenney with 1,994. Herman Long, 1,902. Who is number 2 in all-time hits for the Braves? What never happens in the live shows? Weird that never happens in the live show. What never happens in the live shows, Nick? Getting roasted or just getting roasted in general? So far we got Chipper, Chipper, Chippa, Chippa, Chipper, Chipper, Chipper. Wow, some guy by the name of Chipper, huh? So the answer is that Chipper guy you're talking about, 2,726. Larry Jones, Lawrence Jones, had a fair number of hits in his day. All right, moving on to the Mets. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Mets? David Wright, number 1, 1,777. Jose Reyes, 1,534. Ed Kranepool, 1,418. Cleon Jones, 1,188. And this guy, number 5, who is 5th in all-time hits for the Mets. Yeah, Mike, you're totally right. You guys never roast Nick. Not once has that ever happened. So true. Yeah. No, you guys never roast Nick. Nick, it's such an easy ride for Nick. They don't, nobody busts his chops for anything. So far, we get guesses of Alfonso, Strawberry, Carter, John Carter. You think John Carter's on this list? Harrelson, Alfonso again. All right. You got a couple seconds and I'll flip it. Here's your last couple of answers in. All right. Answer is Edgardo Alfonso, 1,136. I loved Edgardo Alfonso. Such a fun guy to watch. So consistent. So big for them. Andy Chavez, in terms of catches, yes. All right, moving on to the Phillies. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Phillies? Jimmy Rollins with 2,306. Mike Schmidt, 2,234. This guy, number 3. Ed Delahanty, 2,214. And Del Ennis, 1,812. Who is 3rd in all-time hits for the Phillies? See who knows their Phillies history. Come on, Tommy, where are you? No pressure. Richie Ashburn hit the same fan with consecutive foul balls. No way. That's awesome. I mean, not awesome for the fan, but awesome in the sense of like how likely is that to ever happen again? We got Ashburn, Utley, Ashburn, Rollins. Rollins number one, John. J Roll is at the top. All right. Well, we now got Tommy quoting the exact stats. So the answer is Richie Ashburn, 2,217 hits. Nice job, Tommy, on the screws. Yeah, so Richie Ashburn. All right. We got two more. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Marlins? Got Luis Castillo, 1,273. This guy, number 2. Jeff Conine with 1,005. Mike Lowell, 965. Giancarlo Stanton with 960. Who is number 2 in all-time hits for the Marlins? Castellanos, Nick. If it was hits at inappropriate times, it'd be Castellanos. Jimmy Rollins. I used to love Jimmy Rollins, Tommy. Jimmy was so fun to watch. Juan Pierre, good guess. We got Hanley. It's funny. Nick did the Mount Rushmore of the Marlins, or no, it was a 10-year guys, and there was nobody because nobody stays with the Marlins very long. But it's a revolving door of lots of talented players. Just nobody stays very long. Nothing aside from Lowell is the man. Yes, Greg, you are right. Mike Lowell is the man. All right. We got a bunch of guesses in. So the answer is Hanley Ramirez, 1,103 hits. So yeah, Hanley, former Red Sox to the Marlin, back to the Red Sox. 1,103 hits. And was it the necklace he wore? What was it? The year he had like 349, right? And that was the necklace he wore, that big, disgusting, gross gold thing. But anyways, yeah, Hanley. Sorry, last one. Who are the top 5 hits leaders all time for the Nationals? Now, this would include the Expos. Ryan Zimmer, 1,846. This guy, number 2. Tim Raines, 1,622. Andre Dawson, 1,575. And Gary Carter, 1,427. Who is number 2 in all-time hits for the Nationals and Expos? Dude had sleeper Big Mac power. Oh yeah, he's right. He did make another stop in between. You're right, Nick. Vjor Vlad, Wallach, Walker. I was a big Vjor fan. Carl, Tim Wallach, arguably the most underrated player of my lifetime. He really was. Tim Wallach is a dude that sadly very few people remember, but he had a monster career. Another vote for Wallach. All right, let's see the answer. It is Tim Wallach, 1,694. A lot of hits for Mr. Wallach. So, but yeah, and I agree with you, Carl. Completely underrated player. Big time underrated. So that'll do it for trivia tonight. Nicely done. Boom, and I'm back. Mike Lansing, you would, Nick. Of course you'd guess Mike Lansing. Oh my goodness. But anyways, all right. Well, we've been at this for 2.5 hours, just me by myself. So first of all, huge shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight while I flew solo. So Nick got a night off. Much deserved night off for Nick. I've taken a few nights off over the years, or months off, but, and yeah, as Nick's saying in the chat, I said at the beginning of the show, thank you guys all for the 40K. Thank you for engaging on the trivia, being here for the show, following the page, making this journey so much fun. As we say all the time, we continue to come back and do this and put in the work because you guys make it so much fun to do. So we really do. We really appreciate all the support, to get us to 40K and beyond. So don't forget, we have the next round of Jeopardy coming up on Thursday night. Nick is cranking away on questions for you all. We only got a few weeks of that, or 2 weeks of that left, so we got to keep cranking away there. But so we'll see you all Thursday night for Jeopardy. Otherwise, have a great week. Be safe. Have fun. Hopefully, get some good weather somewhere. Watch some baseball.